Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host, John, better known as Dale. We're on the X-Ben. We have a fantastic show for you. Build template details are revealed and are not what players expected, for the most part. Balance patch released and transitions at Arena and much more. But first, I'm going to introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator. No, he's not a moderator.
So I could be.
You could be, yes. You're a moderator over at MAADrealms.com. 2 A's in the MAAD.
Yeah.
See? Oh, I did there. I did that all on purpose. But he
on
also
purpose.
Yes. He also streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. Looks like people might have to tighten the belt on their build list. But what will your list look like if you remove all thief builds? Say hello to H.
Well, I wouldn't have a need for build templates then, would I?
It'd be perfect.
Wow.
And she writes over for MMORPG.com and editor over at Virtually Interrupted, and also her own site, MMORly.com. ArenaNet is participating in Extra Life again. So how much money do we have to earn to get her as a Char Roar voice actor? Say hello to Robin.
That would be amazing. Earn like $1,000 and I'd totally do it.
Well, I don't know if you're getting the money. I think
no, not for us. I'm like for it,
okay.
Raise the money.
I think they're over 1,200, so...
Well, not them as a whole.
Oh,
like
we would personally
make
have
our
to
own thing to
go
into the pot.
We might have to run that by them. Be like, hey, we earned $1,000 to give to you. Just Arlie has to come and just roar once into a mic. We can actually send the file. Like,
yeah,
got
I don't
enough.
even have to go there.
Yeah, we got enough to work with.
That would be amazing. Oh my god, I would die. I would probably legit die if that happened.
Well,
I'd be happy though. I'd be like, yay, okay, my life's complete. We're done. Let's move on.
Jeez.
Time for the next one.
Ooh. Well, that kind of slightly sets the tone for some of the news throughout here. But we'll get to all that stuff in a bit. I know last week you guys talked about the October 1st patch and stuff like that. And there was some standard stuff now that we saw the full list. Some standard stuff like world polish, optional dialogue in the chapter coming home now appears in the chat log. I guess that's nice for people that maybe can't hear it or walk away from it, or maybe even want to go back and read what they said. Or so I mean, kind of world polish, some general stuff. World v World, not what we would all want, but
yeah.
Well, I know everybody's hoping for the alliance system or something, which I think they
Yeah.
would build up a little bit more than just, oh yeah, we had this sitting back here.
I was like, oh yeah, alliances, they're done. Have fun.
Oh yeah, we've had that done there for a while. We just, I don't know.
We just couldn't find the button. We finished it, and then somebody lost the button to activate it. So it's been a whole thing.
It was originally a switch, but we were like, you can't have a switch for a feature like that. It has to be a button. So we had to take out the switch. Anyway, we're probably annoying people. But the actual World v World change was for the War Claw. They added a new skill called Lance. The skill is obtained by training it in the War Claw rank and abilities line. The skill allows you to throw a lance at a target. If the target is a mounted player, it will dismount both you and the target if it hits.
Did this take the place of another skill, or is it just a new skill?
I don't think so. I think it's an additional one.
Okay. Sounds cool.
Yeah, I know they were kind of talking with that idea way back. Like, it feels like a couple months ago.
Right. I remember we talked about it and we all pretty much agreed that if they put in something like that, it would have to dismount you too. Otherwise it would be like really unbalanced.
But it would be really hilarious.
I'm actually wondering the range on that, because
they should put in like some active ability for the war call of trample, where you activate and you could just run over other players and trample them.
Chat is confirming it was a new skill, and they're also saying basically scorpion wire on a cat. Okay, 1.5k range and 30-second cooldown.
That's a good range, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking, yeah, because like it had to be a little like far,
right?
Because, yeah, I think that's a decent range.
Yeah, because that's kind of the max for like longbows and stuff for like a character. So
well, and also like I would imagine it'd put you in combat so that you wouldn't be able to just mount right back up, you know?
Yeah, you're definitely put in combat. The reason I was concerned about it is because like if someone gets away, War Claws starts running away, and you can catch up to them because you're also out of combat, you should be able to have enough range to demount that person.
Right. So. Yeah. Guardian.
The real question is, can you reflect it? Now you're saying,
well, if you can reflect it, then the Guardian will be like, well, I have reflects, but they don't work, so.
I know.
I just remember Deo always being like, why don't my reflex work?
Yeah. So I know it's been so far gone, but if they updated the guild bounties and said like, what's his face's bears reflect, I'd be like, we're running guild missions again.
Yeah.
Oh, so much do I want to throw a bear back at wasn't it a Skritt that did that? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think that makes sense of not making it any of a longer range because, like I said, I think the longest skills you have are 1500. So it's like you said, if you knock someone off and dismount them, then it's like, haha, we're in now we're in combat. Like
that would be hysterical, really.
Yeah.
Just yeah, that makes sense.
Of course, my luck, it would be like, we're in combat. One person runs away. I'm like, no, come back here.
So you want it to be 1400 in case you're on a ranger, so you can still just pick them off a little bit before they run.
We're like, no, you. Brick-a-brack, yeah. Oh God.
But yeah, some other things. I mean, any other thoughts on the Warcloth change? I mean, I don't think it's revolutionized World v. World, but it's a nice, I think, skill for just messing with people. But it's good enough where it's putting you in combat, so it's not like a troll.
I was gonna say the thing like the Warclaw is it's cool and it definitely helps, but like unlike gliding, like. So I made a joke about the Warclaw, but I don't have it yet. Like I just have not put in what I need to do to get it. So I don't have it yet. But like going into a world versus world, I don't feel like I'm at a significant disadvantage because I don't have it. Like I feel like I can still contribute and do things. Whereas like gliding, like staying
everybody
with the
leaped
Zerg,
off a cliff and
like staying with the Zerg was impossible. I was just like, well, I guess I'll have it because that's about all I can do because I can't keep up with anybody. So
maybe lance can be used if you have only the mount and not gliding. You can slam it into one of your allies and glide down with them and slowly weigh them down. Anyway. But no, chat is saying it actually helped with roaming a little, so that's good because I know roaming has kind of felt like they have taken a hit. All the previous stuff that's happened.
No, it's fine. No, it's yeah.
But yeah, so sounds like a little positive for World v. World, Maybe it's a good sign for things to come. But some other stuff from the like patch notes, like I said, we're kind of like minor things like casino coins. They have a consume all option now, which is definitely nice.
That's glorious. Do not.
Oh, you don't want me to belittle it?
That one.
Yeah.
That is actually.
No, I'm
really
all for
good.
consume all things. I still remember. Right before they put in the consume all feature, I felt bad because, what was it? Aaron did his, leading up to it, like a bunch of Silver Waste runs, and he was like, I'm going to open up all these, all the silverway satchels and stuff like this in one stream, and that was literally the day before it launched, or like the day before they announced it, and I'm like, oh, ugh. They love trolling them. But I mean, is there anything else that I'm not giving proper nod to? I mean, so I think the rest just seemed like nice.
We have Tyrion time as part of your clock. That's pretty
Tyrion
nice.
time?
That is right. Yeah. I think it was in response to, because the new zone really, the events really relied on the in-game like Tyria's time itself.
Oh.
So they allowed an option for you to display that on your mini map.
Oh, nice. I missed
think
that.
I think it just does one. I would kind of like.
Yeah, I think it does. I know a lot of people were saying.
Yeah.
And Chad is right. You can do /time as well, but if you want to quickly glance, or if you want multiple things up, you could do that as well.
Yeah, they have the room at the bottom, just like.
But yeah, any other thoughts on kind of the patch, like the little patch features? Because I know there's still the balance patch, which we'll get to here in a second. But
yeah, I think that's all I got. But anyway.
But yeah, next up was the balance patch itself. I know we had the list last week of like the changes they wanted to make, and I mean, I know you guys kind of went through them pretty thoroughly as well, so we'll probably go through them a little bit quicker this time around, that way. And you know, if people in chat have thoughts on them, and now that you've gotten a chance to play with them, what your feelings are on them. But generally they were and in case if you do need it, if you want to follow along, here's the link just in case. But yeah, they said generally they originally created the for general, they originally created alacrity and barrier effects. They were intended to be profession specific, but they changed this stance after seeing how the game changed and evolved over time. While the original effects were visually iconic to their initial professions, it was a good time to update them with a look that could fit any profession. So we did get a new look for barrier and alacrity. So, you know, just like most things. Well, if you have the link, throw that in chat. We usually just keep it for show notes and stuff. Sorry. But yeah, for I don't know what I was saying.
Lost the train of your thought.
Yep. But you know, we've seen that so many times with some of the other profession specific like debuff or debuff things. I mean, we saw that with Torment, how it then kind of was supposed to be a necro kind of only thing, and then it went to everyone.
Spread to others.
Like confusion was pretty much mesmer up until a certain point, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, you know, not surprised that it went to everyone eventually. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Maybe chat knows. I mean, at this point, do you think they were gonna do that anymore? Like,
spread
or just
things
be like,
out more?
Well, just try to give something specifically to a class. I mean, it just always ends up being put to everyone. Like,
where there's only one that can do the specific thing.
Yeah, like why don't they just kind of skip that and just go, okay, now we've added this new, you know, debuff that everybody's getting a little bit of. Or
yeah, I don't think they're gonna like they always seem to try and like keep the feel of the profession or the elite specialization to within what they want it to be, but within that context, I don't think that they're going to give special things to a profession that no other profession can do, like torment or stuff like that, because like especially when you start talking group combat or PvP and stuff, it can be like it's really easy for those things to be super valuable, and then you always want to have that profession in lieu of others, and they want it to be that like you could do well regardless of what your mix is.
Well, I mean, shall we? Well, I guess the other general thing before we get into each profession was superior rune of the antitoxin. This rune no longer removes additional conditions from allies cleansed by the player. Instead, it removes an additional condition from the player whenever a condition is removed from the player.
Yay.
That
makes sense.
Good. Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't make it reliant on other people.
So
Yep.
nice change. Well, let's first start at the first one, which was the elementalist.
First and best.
Yeah. Right in front of the thief.
No, Thief's not next. Thief's like all the way at the bottom where it belongs.
I can leave, if you want. Like, if that's what you really want.
I love you, just not the profession you like because you're crazy.
I love you, just not your choices. That's what she's saying. Anyway,
yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Welcome to the last episode of Talking Skritt. We're all falling apart here.
You're tearing us apart.
I'm not the one with the problem.
You just don't realize it.
Uh-huh.
Jeez. Why do I feel like Jerry Springer all of a sudden?
Here, let me go pick up a chair. Be like, ah!
I want to thank
right,
everyone for the last
Elementalist.
248 episodes. It's been a fun time. Good. Apparently, I must depart.
Oh my
Arlie
God.
hates Thief.
Anyways.
Arlie putting the mentalist in elementalist. Whew.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Alrighty.
how much of a hit or buff did elementalist take in this time around? Which
Well, it's mostly on with the Tempest changes, which it feels like they're trying to make it more viable again, which is good because kind of like with the Elementalist, when the Weaver came around, the Tempest kind of disappeared, which happened with a lot of professions, I know, but like, that's not what they're going for. Like, they're supposed to be relatively even. So I think overall they're good changes.
I mean, anybody out there, have they
certain-
seen more Tempests running around now with these changes? Like,
Well, I
has
was
it
gonna
enticed more people?
I haven't been paying attention to that just because I run around by myself doing random shit a lot. But I think the thing that I think will be a problem is I think it depends on what weapon you use as a Tempest. Will depend on somehow these changes hit you, maybe. Because I've never even as a Tempest used staff, so I don't know how that affects it. But like I would do, it was Dagger Warhorn that I liked a lot personally. So I don't know. I have to go back and mess with it some, but I feel like they're good changes overall.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking through them. They all seem pretty good. I mean, I don't know if anybody wanted to call any particular skill out or.
Well, like the rework of Imbued Melodies is a really good one, just because it reduces the amount of time it takes you to reach singularity when you switch elements. And it increases outgoing damage and condition damage, which is awesome after an overload completes. So like that overall makes it easier to use some of the key things that are about that are Tempest, because one of the key things with Tempest is that you could overload your element and then getting the increased damage afterwards, especially on condition damages, helps.
All right. Well, the next profession was the engineer. They are kind of looking at the scrapper's profession abilities. or when the Scrapper's professional abilities were changed to an F5 skill, the tool belt skill from Sneak Gyro Detection Pulse was replaced. That skill was sorely missed as it provided useful and skilled counterplay if well timed. As the profession mechanic needed to remain on the F5 key, we looked elsewhere and saw that Purge Gyro, an inherently defensive and utility-centric ability, had a tool belt skill that did not fit its intent. So Scrapper is also getting a bit of a tune-up with its hammer skills and a reduction to the vitality loss of the impact savant trait, which was leaving them a bit squishier than they have intended for a bruiser style of play. You guys feel like they've achieved that with these changes? I mean,
buffed hammer like a lot.
Yeah.
Hammer.
It's really cool. And they nerfed a bit of the Hollow Smith, like the hollow mode type of deal.
Which I mean,
I won't cry
was
about.
A bit crazy when they went in that mode.
Yeah. I think it was I think overall, like the hammer changes are good. I don't know if it's enough to like bring it into that bruiser mode, but
I mean, it's a lot of things, so
yeah, I don't know. I think like increasing, like I think the hammer buffs are pretty good. See how it goes. Let's go. Increase the cooldown of the skill
they
from 45.
greatly reduced how much vitality you lose from the impact savant trait, which probably helps with the bruiser idea.
Yeah, because I think the whole well, when I was playing a lot more, the problem with fighting engineers is that they're super bruised. They're super tanky and super sustainable, and they have a lot of damage reduction, but they didn't have enough damage to necessarily kill you outright. So I think
it
they're
just like go on and on and on.
Yeah, so it's like bringing those two spectrums a little bit closer towards the middle. So like you're not like super strong, but like you're also not super squishy at the same time.
Yeah, any other thoughts on Engineer itself?
Not too much.
Yeah, I don't play engineer enough to really know.
Next up we got the Guardian. So they were talking about Firebrand prevalence in group content has been quite strong as they offer significant support options to the point that they were crowding out other builds. In particular, Tome of Courage had a bit more power than was healthy, so they've sought to tweak that down while retaining its overall playstyle by removing some of its boon generation. They're also reducing scepter damage, and increasing sword damage in PvE as the best melee damage option should not be a ranged weapon. Well, I'm sad for Scepter.
Aw, poor Dale.
I mean, to target. Oh, that's interesting. Seize the moment. This trait now applies quickness in a 20-40 area of effect radius around the mesmer and can hit 5 targets, including the mesmer.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, because I don't remember. This kind of helps with like quickness and in like raids. I would assume. I don't know the cooldown of this, but that's just my assumption. Oh, gain quickness for each clone you shatter. Oh, that's really good then. Okay, never mind. Click the spray clone 2 seconds, and there's no cooldown. Huh. That's pretty good. Other than that, Chaos Storm's skill now always dazes on the first strike, but can no longer randomly daze on other strikes. This change also applies to Lesser Chaos Storm, which I think is fair. It brings more reliability to the skill. I mean, Chaos Storm is really good in and of itself and just giving random things to enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So at least there's a little counterplay there, but at least you know it'll always daze the first time, so you can follow up on that.
And Chad is saying they wish they were consistent with that whole a ranged weapon should not be best in slot for each class thing. Well, at least they say from a melee stance, which
Yeah.
I'm not up with my meta builds. Is there any other ones that fall under that where the best melee option is a ranged weapon? I mean,
I thought
Wouldn't be
all
surprised if
ranged
there's-
weapons did less damage when you were close.
no,
in.
I think that was just thematic with Mesmer Great, unless they made a change with that. But like
Mhm.
Mesmer Great Sword originally and Ranger Longbow, which then I think was applied to maybe the
Guardian.
Guardian's Longbow when they brought it. But
Mm-hmm. Oh, for some
okay,
reason
Chad
I
is
thought,
saying Rifle Warrior is getting there. Okay.
yeah, no, I just assumed like all ranged weapons did less damage.
Unless they
close in.
converted that, and I just never or don't remember, but I thought it was just only a couple.
Yeah, that's
But
probably
they
right.
could have easily made that change.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if I just assumed that across the board when it wasn't.
But maybe Chad. I don't know. What's the case? Who's right? So we can make even more of a feud.
Family Feud.
We did play that in Guild Wars 2. It went horribly because people thought jewel crafting was one of the most useless professions, right next to Guardian.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Anyway, well, this was the one I'm scared about, Mesmer. So. Hopefully, Mesmer Chaotic Interruption has been reworked as a trait that offers a dynamic and skillful form of play by giving savvy players a means to use their abilities to recharge weapon skills. Some Chronomancer tweaks, oh boy, are also in to offer another means of granting group quickness and to clean up some functional redundancy between delayed reaction and lost time. So, how did the Mesmer fare?
It's fine.
Oh, it's fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, it's still... people aren't happy with it, or did they... Or
There's
did
more
they just not
reliability.
hurt it even more?
I mean, there's more reliability in terms of quickness. There's actual power counterplay when you actually use some skills. So it's just like some things are fair, some things are just improved. I think it's fine.
Now, what's the skill that's been disabled in PvP? I forget what it was. Was it... that basically broke Mesmer's? I don't remember. Was it Chaotic Interruption? I want to... Okay. So, is that reactivated now since they're talking about it? It's been reworked. I mean, it'd be weird
Charge
if...
when the air equipped skills at random. No. Yeah. That's on here, so I assume it's active now.
Yeah. I'm just curious of...
Chaotic Interruption. This trait's been reworked when interrupting a foe. Now recharges one of your currently recharging equipped weapon skills by 5 seconds. This trait has a 1 second internal cooldown. That's actually not too bad.
Well, chat's saying it's not as good now. Well, I'm sure comparatively to something that's been that had to be stopped.
Yeah, you have to like make an interrupt build to get value out of this. I feel like,
which I think is maybe what they're going for. Like they said, they want to reward the savvy players. Like you have to dedicate yourself as an interrupter. It's not just going to be a natural, like something that any Chronomancer. It was a Chronomancer specific trait, right?
Yeah.
Like any Chronomancer could just put on their tool belt. So now it has to be a specific you gotta. That's gonna be your build. Yeah, I'm just putting it in reference to. I mean, if it had to be disabled, it was already in their mind a broken skill. So at that point, anything was probably going to be a nerf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good trait. Yeah, I don't know interrupt builds that you can make, so I personally don't know if it's actually nerfed to the point of like you wouldn't want to take it even if you make an interrupt build. So
But any other thoughts on Mesmer?
Nope.
Next up we have the Necromancer. So
Yay.
they are looking at the death magic specialization. Had a significant rework with this update, revolving around a new effect and various means of gaining additional defense while bringing together a more cohesive set of playstyles. The Scourge Elite specialization has also undergone a significant change, such that its shade skills will only fire around them when they do not have a shade up. If they do have a shade present, then those skills will happen around their summoned sand shades. Alongside this change, the Scourge and each sand shade now affect an increased number of targets by default, which can be increased further through the use of the Grandmaster trait Sand Savant. This change leans into the dependence of Scourge, dependence a Scourge has on their unique elite specialization mechanic, shades, and opens up the specialization to future potential improvement skills across its kit. So I don't know. I mean, did this help the Scourge epidemic of basically rolling over everything?
I'm not sure that they will be useless in PvP. I think they'll still be able to be effective, but they won't be like the go-to anymore. I like it because I prefer to do Reaper, and like, you know, I was fighting Scourges and stuff. It was difficult, and so I think this will even the balance a bit more. It is possible that they went a little too far with it and they'll have to like ramp it back a bit, but I think in general they're going in the right direction with it. Mostly.
And I think that's been kind of Arena's philosophy on making the change and then toning it back type thing. That's very in either direction. So,
but I mean, overall, I think they're pretty good changes. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in live and stuff. If it's like worse than I'm thinking, or you know, not as bad as some people are thinking. But I understand that, and that's fine. Like I said, I don't personally play Scourge, so like I totally could be wrong about that. But
well, I mean, it
or
sounds
it's
like
also possible that Scourges might just have to change the way that they play a little.
Yeah,
bit.
I was gonna say before it sounds like before it was basically buffing the, helping the shade itself and you. Now, if you have a shade up, it's just doing that, like, which sounds like a very necro thing of you're making a sacrifice. Like, you shouldn't be an unstoppable juggernaut and also a DPS. Like,
yeah, the death magic trait line has a lot of really interesting things in there, and that's what I'm interested to see is like how players come up with to make use of that.
And that's the biggest thing. And we're only a week in, so like you said with the Scourge, people are gonna have to change up their play style, which
interesting.
But, yeah, we shall see. We'll have to relook at it and see if they totally destroyed this Scourge epidemic we've had or have adjusted it. And like you guys said, along with the death magic, I'm definitely intrigued to see where that does pan out.
I thought there was one other. hold on, I'm just scanning something. I thought there was
Alright.
one other thing I wanted to mention, but I'm not seeing it.
This new Death Carapace stack thing is interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Death Carapace works out. So for those that you don't know, it increases toughness by 20 for each stack up to a maximum of 30 stacks. So that's up to a maximum of 60
600.
No, 600. I was like, wait, I mismathed that. What's going on? My brain just like went so that, yeah, that's a max of 600 toughness that you can get from that. And the stacks are applied for 10 seconds from all traits except for Flesh of the Master. So it should be pretty easy to stack those up. It'll be really interesting to see how that works out.
And like Chad's saying that, you know, scourges are now just focused when someone sees a shade and then it melts them. And I think that's the thing is it also requires, like, if you're able to melt them, they're less of a threat. So in the end, aren't you as a raider on the other side or a World v. World player on the other side wasting time? If they're not a threat, shouldn't they move down the list? Like, it's also the community has to adjust as well because they're not as much of a priority.
Right.
So that I think that's where it has to adjust as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're getting melted really fast now, but if they're not a threat, then they're going to move down on that threat list of, okay, we can leave them for a second or something like that. Or, I mean,
I think you'll see a lot less of like Scourges sitting on a point by themselves, which fine, you know, like, I don't know. I think we need a few weeks of playing and people trying different things and seeing what will work.
Yeah, I really never played too much. I don't think I've played much of Scourge in PvP, if any. But
the other thing with top teams is you have to be careful because top teams will always take advantage of whatever the easiest thing to have the best at everything
best advantage
is. Yeah, so like it just because top teams don't use something doesn't mean that thing isn't viable. It just means that it's not viable in the way they want it or like whatever.
Yeah, essentially,
and depending on the other makeup. I mean,
what was that, H?
Essentially, can you pub stomp with Scourge still?
Yeah.
Is kind of the question you need to ask yourself because, yeah, I understand if top teams weren't do it, and like, but like it could still be decent for like bronze or silver players, just because people don't know how to play around it.
To be meta, you got to play anti-meta.
Yes.
I mean, weirdly enough, I've seen some, not in, I don't know how much in Guild Wars 2, but other pro players where they're just taking a joke character in a fighting game or something, and it's like, no, you, like, what do you, like, it throws people off. Sometimes. Otherwise, it could be a really bad thing. And
well, like, you know, there's different things. Like, you know, when you expect a player to use certain skills in certain ways because that's what everybody in that profession is doing, and then you do something different, it can really like throw everything for a loop. And that's where the real strategy and figuring out how to play the best like comes in. Like just doing what everybody else is doing won't always get you the best results, especially if like people have found strong counters to those things. It's just, I don't know.
And hence why usually the people playing in the tournaments usually have to switch up things, because if everybody's playing those builds standardly, it just becomes rock, paper, scissors. Like it's
right.
So then it's like, okay, this will be my secret build to mess with the people that used to use my old build. Like, or, you know, it's, we have seen that in the past with Guild Wars 2 pro players. It's like, well, everybody's using my build now and like my rotation. It's like, well, now I got to change it up. But yeah, so I'm definitely curious to see. It seems like the Necromancer is going to be long term, a couple weeks out, hopefully. But any final thoughts on the Necro itself?
This Carapace is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how it plays out over the next few weeks, month or so.
Yeah, because I can say in PvP because it's just like a free stat if you get all the stacks and keep it up type of deal.
I mean, I would say death to the Scourge, but isn't that what a Necro would want?
Yes.
It would only help them.
Yes. By killing me, you make me stronger. Oh my God, exactly. That would be amazing. As a buff for Necros, every time you die, you come back with stronger stats. We need that.
Well, I was going to say, what was it, the Necro?
Or every time you get downed and brought back up, you get a buff.
I was just saying, was it the Necro? Or it was one time where basically, I know a lot of people made a joke about it, where their skills, their downstate skills were strong enough that you could kill people. I forget which one it was, but
yeah, I don't remember which profession that was.
Yeah,
but
like chat's saying, Necro is already top DPS downstate. Yeah, I remember there was people making builds where
it was like going to the point was to get to downstate. That was crazy.
I was gonna say, I wasn't sure if that was the exact line they said in Wrath of the Lich King, but that was one of the last ones I
it was played, the sentiment was there, certainly.
Yes. And then the dragons came by and burned everything. So, look at that. WoW and Guild Wars 2, they're the same. No.
Oh my God.
Next up, we have the Rangers. So their goal with this one was, with this update, they were trying to make a major change to sword skills in order to better improve their flow during combat. Monarch's Leap, Hornet Sting, and Serpent Strike are all shuffling around into new slots, which should make the weapon a little easier to understand, and they're also including some enhancements for the offhand dagger, which has been a pretty weak weapon that hasn't kept up with the pace of the game very well. And finally, they're simplifying the greatsword's counterattack skill and taking some power out of the chain attack sequence. Their hope for this was will make the weapon feel a little smoother while removing some of the frustrating random dodges that happen when fighting against it.
So, like, I see their thinking and I understand why they think moving the skills around on the sword will make it work better, but that's gonna fuck me up for a while. Like,
and from what chat's saying, yeah.
Like,
that's gonna as I was reading that, I was like, oh, that would annoy me so much. But
well, like, Jaster, you have to understand, like, I have so much muscle memory with those skills being in a specific order in place for, I mean, I've been playing the sword.
I'd say you're fighting 7 years of muscle memory.
Yeah. I did a greatsword for a while, and then I switched to the sword Warhorn pretty quickly. Like, that's years of memory of just doing it that way. It's going to take a while to get used to it. It's like, I understand once I get used to it, it will probably be better, but that's going to be hell for a while.
I'm sure they were debating that because I'm sure it's like an idea for like maybe a new player or someone new to Ranger.
Yeah.
Which it's like, yeah, that's great. But like you said, that's 7 years of muscle memory of just potentially 7 years, but.
Right. Yeah. Like, if you weren't already playing with the sword, it's just a straight up better change. The problem is for people like me who've been playing it for a long time, it's going to be like really difficult to make that change.
I'm definitely curious because I like chat saying, I was probably one of those people that, I mean, granted, I don't really main a Ranger, but when I like the idea of like an up close Ranger, especially because I think I went sword and dagger because they could kind of like zip around and poke around. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, definitely wanting to try it. And I think I was one of those people where I'm like, I didn't get the right flow with it. So I'm curious of the change, but I totally understand where the people like Robin, where someone just like, basically, someone just basically snuck into your account and switched your keybinds around on you.
Like, oh my God. It's like every time I play like a press demo or something at the convention of Guild Wars 2, it's like, because nothing is like how I'm used to.
It's like, okay, you
it's
have
like
20
that.
minutes with this build. Yeah, but can I have a 5 free minutes to change the buttons around? Like, that won't count
Right.
against me, right?
And can I get a MMO mouse, please? Like, oh my god. Yeah. No, like I said, I think it'll be good. It's just going to take some
Though besides that, I mean,
getting used to.
the skills and like like stat increase / decrease. I mean, how did that turn out?
I haven't messed with that yet, so I don't know. Like literally until I get used to the sword, it's going to be hard for me to get like a good feel for anything else.
Yeah.
It's like,
So what you're telling me is please stream that so we can all just hear
so
Arlie
you can
as she's
hear
like,
me like cussing up a storm.
Yeah, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Kind of like what my dogs are doing right now. My dogs are trying to reload Ranger. Thanks a lot, ArenaNet. Yeah, I think I use a G600 as well, so it's but any other thoughts while I go maybe check on my dogs, making sure everything's okay?
Do you want us to move on to ArenaNet while you're gone?
Yeah, I'll play catch up when you guys do,
Okay.
but yeah, feel free to if there's no other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot other to like, talk about, I don't think. Like they got a little bit of a nerf on the long range shot, but I don't think that's a huge deal.
Yeah, I think good. All right, I'm ready to revenant. In addition to some changes to Coalescence of Ruin and Gaze of Darkness aimed at World vs. World play, we're also tuning up a few of Malix's legendary Demon Stance skills from the last update, as we felt they ended up on the weak side. Jealous's legendary Dwarf Stance skills are also seeing some improvements aimed at making them more powerful and easier to use to better warrant the use of your energy.
Like, I like that idea because personally, I only ever use Glint and Shiro because I like those. They're fun, they're interesting, and it feels effective. But, some of these changes might make me at least try the other ones again.
Yeah, I understand. I run Malix and something else usually. It's because I like that type of style play. But they did a change to Coalescence of Ruin, so the skill no longer deals increased damage with successful impacts. It now always deals damage equal to what was previously the second impact damage. Its damage remains split between game modes, always added a red warning rectangle visible to enemies. So this is actually really good because one, you can tell where that's going to actually land, and
right.
it does less damage because this is one of the range revenant skills that really hit like a truck type of deal. So I think it's always been a problem for years. So it's pretty good. Embrace the Darkness lowers the recharge from 10 seconds to 3, which is good because it's a skill that you turn on and off. Having 10 seconds is kind of brutal. Gaze of Darkness. This skill now reveals stealth enemies with a range of 600, inflicting blindness and vulnerability. True serious radius for True Nature Assassin. What does this do again? Strip spoons. Oh, okay. That actually is pretty fair. I mean, all of these are buffs and like genuine nerfs that make sense, I guess. So
we still talking about Revenant?
Yeah.
And they didn't get as many tweaks, I don't think, as the rest, but
yeah, I think I think the biggest ones are called Essence of Ruin and Called Anguish and True Nature. That was one. And Embrace the Darkness, actually. But ooh, Forced Engagement throws more chains to people. That's cool. I want to see that. And so this skill now also throws chains at up to 4 additional targets within a range of 360 of the selected target.
Oh,
so
that's
you
nice.
throw 1 chain to someone, and then it throws 4 more if there's enough, and they're within range. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's basically it. Now is that a?
That's a taunt.
Yeah, that was the taunt skill. So it can now hit like 5 people. I'm gonna have 5 chains coming up.
Knew you'd be excited about that.
Yeah, because I've always been a little bummed by that. Because halftime, I don't know. It seems like the taunt never worked. Like I would throw it at the thing and it'd still be attacking someone else. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be looking at me? I have leashed you. You are like now a dog on a chain. Like, look at me.
Now, does the taunt that you throw to the other 4 people, do they get taunted towards the first initial target or to you? That's what I want to know. Because if they get taunted towards the target, then you could put an AoE on top of that.
I mean, you're in the Great Dwarf stance, so clearly you just walk towards them and just tank them all. I mean, I don't recommend that, but no. I mean, I don't think this is. I don't know. I doubt this is going to make it a tank for raids or something. But I like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
They're saying it's more like.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Well, any other thoughts on Revenant? I think they came out like you said. I think you were saying when I came back was it all made sense. Like it wasn't out of. Didn't seem like it was out of nowhere.
What are you thinking?
To me, it makes sense. I think there's like. I mean, there's only like one thing that I guess I could complain about a Revenant, but it's like it's not really worth it because like you have to be really skilled to pull off what I've seen with sort of Revenant builds. So like you run full Berserker and you're basically going through a rotation of trying to be untouchable while dealing a ton of damage. So, but you have to be like on the ball with that type of build. So
I like what chat's thinking of if they ever want to go back and rework things, like almost do like a Warframe style rework of a class. Is if you were able to hold like, and maybe along those lines of like they're recommending if you tap the skill you chain one thing, if you hold it you chain, you pull 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
but what if it was like if you have 1 it's a longer pull versus if you pull 5 it's shorter distance but you are pulling 5, like it varies depending on how many you have tethered or something. But
I would like a flip over, honestly. I think that's the equivalent of like the longer tap. So if you chain someone, you can tap it again to chain to nearby people or pull or something like that. And it's so you would have the forced engagement would be like you chain someone, if people are nearby, you chain more people, and then the flip over would be like you could pull type of
okay.
It's kind of like the Dragon Hunter's Judgment, Spear of Judgment, Justice. Was it Justice or Judgment? I don't remember.
I don't know. I see both being like. I'm sure both are used as a name, but
Spear of Justice.
No, in chat saying it's possible since Sad Bombs already have that feature, so yeah, it's not foreign in the game.
Yeah, I just it would probably have to go on a longer cooldown because of it, but be fun.
Yeah. Well, any other thoughts for Revenant?
Nope.
Well, next up we have The Thief. So their goal with this one was the previous Shadow Arts update. It landed pretty well overall, but they felt that the siphons ended up a little weak. Oh, great. We're turning those ones up, as well as touching up a few other traits that didn't feel quite right. In addition to these changes, they're updating improvisation to recharge a random utility skill on the skill bar rather than a random utility skill type. This change is intended to lower the variance on the trait and to allow for more flexibility in utility selections. And finally, stolen bundles now use the ammo system in order to help with readability. So, well, they didn't delete the thief. I mean,
No.
if anything, they they buffed it. What the heck? All those angry letters I've been sending.
Hey. So the bug fixes to steal and swipe are pretty important, just because you expect them to work, and if they don't, you're screwed. So yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's important for your skills to work properly. That would be a.
I would assume so. Maybe. So I think the more important one, was improv and cloaked in shadow, because improv now works based on your equipped utility skills at random. So so if you have one utility skill off cooldown, you have 4 utility skills, you have 1 in 5 chance to get the skill that's actually on cooldown recharged, which is interesting in and of itself. There's like a nerf buff type of deal to it. So before, it recharged 1 utility slot. So you had a 1 in 5 chance if you ran base thief, 1 in 6 if you ran a elite spec, and that means that if you ran 1 of 5 skills on your bar, so like you had like 1 of each type, you still had like a 1 in 6 chance of recharging any of your skills. And if those duplicate over, well, then your chances are increased because you have 2 types of skills, but you get double the benefit if like 2 deception skills get recharged, for example. But now it's like a 1 in 5 no matter what. But the downside is I haven't tested it, but the downside is if it tries to recharge a skill that's already recharged. So that's kind of like the balance of it. So for me, it's like use up a bunch of your utility skills, steal, trying to get a recharge back.
Now, are you? I'll say, are you glad that they went to the ammo system for the bundles? On bundles,
The ammo system.
like they now use the ammunition system, like kind of
Oh,
the mesmer mantras and guardian mantras, and I know that was the
yeah.
initial ones, but
So their number of uses as ammunition. I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt at all because like you at least know.
okay. I wasn't sure if it would have been since I know you play Thief a lot more than I do, so I didn't know if
It's more like a
nice little
I
side change.
I mean, they signal like when you had 2. I was actually kind of confused by this one, so I think it's like I have to double check this one, but I think it's like they show the number at the top, but it's like if you stole and you had the trait that gave you 2 items, you'd see you had 2 items, and if you had 1, you wouldn't see any number. So I think they just show 1, like
Okay.
2, 1, and then nothing in that slot, which I mean, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's just a nice kind of side grade. It didn't hurt, or
quality of life.
I didn't know if it messed up like the flow of thief builds out there. Or...
Yeah. The other change is major is cloaked in shadow, because your blinds are going to give you more healing, which is pretty nice.
Any other thoughts on Thief?
May we reign forever.
Yep, from the sky with fall damage.
Yes.
So next up we have the Warrior. In this update, they were trying to focus on changes to the Tactics trait line and Warhorn skills. They basically wanted to remove the traits related to reviving allies in order to make room for new traits and improvements to some of the old traits that focus more on ways Warrior can affect allies while they are still in the fight. The new Tactics traits are focused around empowering allies through boons and effects, helping allies who are taking a beating, and a selection of warrior enhancing battlefield strategies. Oh boy, so it seems like Warrior's got a new kit with the tactic line. Now I'm scared. So some of the minor stuff. This new trait grants a soldier's focus effect every 15 seconds.
Bonuses when executing burst. This is they're just soldier's focus, which grants bonuses when executing burst. So this is when they're adding. It's kind of like the necro changes with Death's Carapace, but on the tactics line for Warrior. I don't know if it's a good idea. It depends how many different bonuses there are, because you would want to keep track of them.
I like the idea by it. Like, I'm not a Warrior player that, like, I don't know, I was gonna say, aren't Warriors already pretty big with like support, like stacks of might? Like, is this almost like a?
Well, not anymore, since like almost everyone has the ability to do it now. But okay, I think I'm reading this differently. It's like when you have soldier's focus, your trait will do something based on it, or a bonus action because of it, which I guess is okay. I was confused because I thought it was going to be like, if you have soldier's bonus, this, like, you get a bonus action of XYZ, like for like different traits. So it could be a lot to remember type of deal. But
yeah, I mean, it just looks like the Warrior just got a new play style. I mean, it seems like they're almost like I know that there's been like banner healers and stuff like that, but I think this is kind of builds up on that, of like you can be like almost like full out support, which I've always liked that concept. Like, I remember when Rift kind of made that, like, had a Warrior trait line that, you know, I know a lot of people are like, a Warrior healer, like it can be a weird concept, but definitely interesting.
It's pretty cool. I think it'd be cool if we had like not like a super strong one, but just like a passive, sustainable healing warrior that, you know, doesn't outright perform with sustained healing, but like, you know, just enough to like have a decent fight type of deal. So
any final thoughts on the Warrior changes?
I'm kind of interested to see how it works.
Well, I mean, you know, maybe when you're playing with all these new specs and stuff like that, you can, if you like them, maybe you can easily share them with friends, or, you know, save them to some kind of a template system, which
we have DPS.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're getting to that topic, everybody. So basically how it works, we had the announcement at the PAX West, and of just kind of a system going in place. We got more of the details and how it's going to function. Right now, we don't have a price on it yet, but at least not since the last day. So if it did happen, I didn't see it yet. But they did do a live stream talking about it more so, which you can see here. Right now, the portion that's playing, I think, is mostly the build templates themselves. But let's just run down quickly what the feature does give us. So when this does come out, each character starts with 3 build templates and can have up to 6, which I think they did. Is this the one where they said if you're there, if you're in game day of, you basically can get the 3 out of the gem store for free? Or was that the other one?
I don't know.
Maybe Chad will have to clarify on that. But also, each character starts with 2 gear templates, which we'll get into the nitty gritty of. Wait, we're getting more templates? What were the other ones? But and you will be able to have up to 6. Builds can be renamed, shared in chat, similar to items, copied. And if you have a build equipped, but you haven't earned the skills yet, then it will equip that what it can and fill in the rest as they're earned. Basically, Ranger pets are also copied in the build template. Revenant legends are also picked up in the build template. Order of the skills are preserved. Swapping build templates is a half a second swap. You won't be able to swap in PvP matches and World v World unless in a keep. And cooldowns carry over to the new skills. And I mean, should we focus on the build template side first, or? Okay,
Yeah.
they said chat saying they're giving 3 away for 1 month after feature release. Okay, and I wasn't sure if it was the build templates themselves or the gear templates, or.
Yeah, it was it. I'm very confused by this, like, because it
is a confusing system.
So when the I'll try to explain this. So when the actual blog post came out, I was trying to skim through it just to see all the things. I'm like, okay, this, and then I got it wrong. So I'm like, oh shoot, okay, so mint this. And I'm like, oh, I got it wrong there. So I'm like, this is different. So like super convenient. I'm like, at this point, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna wait for the stream or whatever to them show it off. So, but at least like it's understood that there's like builds and then there's gear or equipment templates, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a third for all professions that's account wide called build storage, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which here's a little bit of the UI for the equipment templates. It looks pretty similar, like has the same tabs at the top that you saw with the equipment templates. Yeah. Or sorry, build templates.
So it was very confusing for me because the thing is, I think it was the storage thing that kind of just confused me all throughout, because like I understand the difference between builds and gear, but then you have like a storage one. So it's like build templates are for your character and build storage is for any character. I was kind of confused why we couldn't have just like a list of like we can save any of them.
Well, but that's like also the thing, like chat's saying, the builds are also divided into 2. I thought the understanding was currently you can only have 6 on your character, but what, you can have up to 24 for your account?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, so the ones that you can store in the build storage are 24, and then you can store any build of any profession in there. Whereas the build template for your character is you start with 3, you can have max up to 6, and you can store only the ones for your profession.
Okay. So it's kind of like if I'm on my Necro and I see people in Divinity's Reach saying, here's a cool Mesmer build, and I'm like, that is pretty cool. I'm going to save that until I get on my Mesmer. So yeah. I'm playing on my Necro. An hour later goes by. I'm like, hey, I want to check out that build. So I hop on my Mesmer, and then I can basically slide it into one of its builds.
Yes.
Now that will no longer take up one of those account bound ones. Or I could then
think you
theoretically
can.
delete it.
Yeah, I think you have to manually delete it or something like
Okay.
that. But yeah, that's basically the idea. It's very, very.
So it's not
confusing.
gonna take up 2 slots basically is what I'm asking. Like
It's up to
if
you
it
if it wants to take.
well,
2
yes,
slots.
but I
Yeah.
mean it won't be like I won't like lose a build somewhere.
Yeah.
It's on my one character. If I have one of every profession, I could theoretically have, you know, 6
Exactly.
and then some spill over into the pool.
Yeah.
But um and yeah, so the gear, as you're seeing some of the gear templates, it also has a storage system, so it's no longer putting the gear in your bags, it's putting it in this separate storage thing, which I don't
Yeah.
think you can access outside of it, right?
Um.
At least I don't think they
Access.
mentioned, or I don't think really anybody
No.
asked. I just kind of thought of it, but
Yeah, as far as I know, there isn't a account storage for that type of deal.
I mean, not
but
having to have space in your bags for all of that shit will be nice.
So
mhm.
there's a good and downside to it. So the good side is yes, you do have less inventory space because you put it in your storage. But the problem is if you have legendaries, uh, you store that as a slot.
Mhm.
And so like if you have a second equip template, but you use only legendary weapons for your armor, you're kind of like screwed there in that
Oh,
respect.
you'd have to like unequip it in your other character and then switch it for the other character?
Yeah, because like it's going to store the legendary armor in one slot. Unless
Mm.
I'm getting this confused. Someone tell me
Well,
if I am.
it would make sense. Like, so if you could set up a say like, my elementalist and my ranger, I set up a template where they use my legendary warhorn in both templates.
Hmm.
And I had the warhorn equipped on my elementalist. But then I switched to my ranger and I switched her thing so that it tries to equip that legendary weapon. If it worked that way, that would essentially give me 2 legendary warhorns when I only had one before that I had to manually switch between them.
That's how I'm
That wouldn't be a way
thinking.
to work. Like,
That's how I'm thinking it works. So yeah, if you save it as so you load up, you actually load up so you save your legendary gear
mhm.
and
But
then you
and
load
chat
it
saying
up.
legendary gear can be in several slots at the same time, and I think they showed that off. But I think what Age's question is if you have a thief who uses medium legendary armor, but you're like, well, I want to go over to my ranger. If it's being stored somewhere, like, is the storage account bound? Is I think is the question that you might be getting at. I don't. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
Well,
Because
like,
that's my
that's the weird
second
thing.
part.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. Are you going to have to then switch back to your first character, unequip that stuff so that you can go to your other character and then equip it? Like, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're essentially making more of that thing, which isn't necessarily the way it should work either. Like,
Yeah, because it's just gonna be kind of weird how it works.
mhm.
Um, I could see. Yeah, it's just like because you're gonna have to define armor sets that you would want to keep for the most part on characters at this point, just because you don't want to like if you have one condi set that you use between 3 characters, depending on like what you're doing,
Mhm.
um, until you get like the rest of your armor that you want,
Yeah.
it's gonna be very
Ideally,
annoying.
ideally it would do something where you could set it in a set for both characters, and then when you activate that build on one character, it would unequip it on the other character on their end. So then when you go back to your other character, you would have to activate that build again to get it back, because that would keep the whole switching around of stuff
Yeah.
aspect. Um, but I don't know how hard that would be to
Well,
program.
I
Essentially,
think
my
what in chat's
yeah.
saying, like, if you have it equipped on someone, you can't normally trade it. In my head, I was wondering, since this is being touted as extra storage for your gear, if you switch to a build that doesn't use that armor, technically it's now in storage.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're trying to push this system as a monetary advantage, I would feel like it would be like it would then save ideally. So then you could switch to another character and use that particular armor, because technically you just unequipped it from your previous character.
Right. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. It should do.
But yeah,
I
that's
don't
what
know
I
if it
don't
does
know.
that.
Essentially, okay. So this will answer my questions. So basically, if you unload, like, let's say you equip a gear template onto a character, is it essentially going into your is it essentially like going into your inventory and equipping things?
I believe that's supposed to be how it works.
Okay,
Like, that's my
so
understanding.
it should be fine in that respect, because if you want to swap the gear over, you can at least unequip it off of that character and put it onto another character.
Right. Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, do you have to manually go and tell it to unequip that stuff and then switch to your other character so you can then equip it? Or can you just switch characters and it will move it over? When you log back on that other character, it won't be on that character anymore. And if you want it back on that character, you'd have to select it again. Like, that's what I'm saying. Ideally, I think it should work like that, but I don't know how complex that would be to program.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like, yeah, and that's where it gets really kind of weird, right? Because you have this template that you've saved already, but you unequip it. That seems like a massive bug to me. So it's so this is kind of where it gets really weird, because you have a save template of gear. You unequipped pieces of gear to give to another character, because let's say for raiding, you wanted to swap gear to another character for something, for example. And then
no one wants you to run your thief, so they're like, get on your ranger.
Let's say that is a case that would never happen, but anyway, let's say that's the case, and then you load up the build template, not knowing whether you have that build or not, like 2 weeks later. Will it equip, because it has that equipment saved, does it load on that equipment? Or does it say, oh, you actually unequipped, you had this build loaded before, but you already unequipped stuff, so we're not going to equip armor for you? That's what I'm kind of getting with.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should just, like what chat's saying, like, because you can buy legendary. Well, once you unlock a legendary, you can then
manually
get like the weapon.
Move it around your account. But no character.
Yeah.
No two characters can have it at the same time, unless
and that's
you
why
put
I'm
it
saying
in the shared
is
slots or something.
That's what I'm saying. So netcode answered my question. So it won't equip armor for you in that case. Okay, that makes sense. Because I'm wondering how that works in and of itself, because technically you're storing it in your so I guess it's because it'll check the inventory if you don't already have it equipped. If
it doesn't equip armor for you, though, I don't understand what the point of it is, though. Like, how does that help?
Well, because you gave it to another character, it's going to check if you already have it equipped or if it's in the character inventory that it stores for armor. So if it can't find it in either one, it's not going to equip armor for you.
Okay, so then you'd have to go to the other character that has the thing, unequip
Put it back,
store it, whatever, and then switch back, and then it'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that's a little like janky, but at the same time, I understand that it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find bugs with it, honestly. That's what I'm trying to do. Well, I from what I understand, it seems like a cool system. Of course, there's all the issues that people have with it.
I mean, I can certainly see why it took them so long to do it, because it encompasses a lot.
Yeah.
Like, even this just one discussion, it took us how long to figure out how it handled legendary stuff? Like,
yeah. So the interesting part is that they can't do gear template chat codes.
Oh, so you can't like link a template to somebody?
Which
is
like very
do it with the build
template.
template.
You can do it with a build, but not
I don't
gear.
believe. I don't believe the gear ones.
So that was interesting to me.
I wonder if they didn't make that available because then people would just use it as a janky inspect your gear kind of thing.
Probably.
But like, what if you just want to use it to share build? Like,
I know. Yeah. I mean, that's way
Yeah.
you would hope people would use it.
For the first month, that's what it would be. But then I think for the rest of the time, it would be what Arlie's saying.
Just like gear inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like show us your gear.
But then you could just like steal other people's builds and then just like link it. It's like, oh, I have this.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
that would be a whole other problem.
You could do that now with LI or whatever
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the reason I was actually a little confused by that is because I feel like, and it would take a long time for them to do, but you have to take an item and kind of like go to its core elements. So let's say you had
transmuted gear. Ugh.
No, not transmuted gear.
It's like, I read chat. I'm like, that's a whole other level of this. So like, say you transmute your gear to look like one thing on one character, and then you make a build using that gear on another character with that transmutation carried to that other gear. So now you can't have your things look different and like, yeah. I mean, it would make sense if it did it that way, but I didn't even think about that. Like,
But for me, the thing is for the template codes, I would think for different weapons and armor that they would kind of like break it down to its core elements rather than just the item itself. So for example, if you had Shining Blade, which is a legendary level 80 one-handed sword with like, you have sigils in it, you have infusions in it, whatever. And then you would break it down to its core elements. So like it's a one-handed sword. It's legendary, which you can associate to Ascended because they have the same stat. Let's say it's Berserker, and it's level 80. So that you would take those elements and you would store that instead of just the item itself. And you would like have a one-to-one relationship with that weapon. And then you'd store that as a build template. So in the template, you would have level 80, one-handed sword, Ascended, Berserker. Right? And then when a person equips that template, it checks that code. It's like, all right, so this person has in their main hand a one-handed level 80 Ascended Berserker sword. Let's try to find that in your character's inventory. Oh, and if it finds that, it'll equip it. If not, it doesn't. But then that gets into a whole slew of things because there's probably millions of items with different names and things like that. And I think this is why they didn't do it, because there's like millions of names and there's like a ton of different relations that you have to set up. Like, it sounds easy enough in theory, but it's just like there's a lot of data to hold and store.
And that's kind of what Chad was saying, was that's a lot of data for just the one chat link.
Yeah, but if you could break it down to those core elements, I think it's like a few thousand codes, but for associated to millions of items. But I could see why that would be very troublesome to do. But it'd be kind of cool if they could do it that way.
And I know Chad's kind of, I know Chad's kind of leading into it, and it's the different issues that people have had with build templates and gear templates, which I think the first thing that popped up was basically monetization. They did talk about during the live stream. Like I said, we don't know the price for it. We do know that, like we said before, build templates, you're getting 3 at the get-go, and then if you're there for the first month, you can get another 3, which will fill you out, which I think is interesting that they're doing that, because it's like, at that point, why charge it all? But
is that storage, or is that storage, or the actual build template itself?
I think it's the build templates on your character, it seemed like.
Oh, they need names for these.
But with the gear templates, you're gonna get 2 with an upgrade at 6. They did seem like they were gonna try to group them like by 3 in like sets of 3, which at least the build templates, because if they do that with gear templates, that puts you at a weird number.
Yeah.
You do it 3-2, yeah.
About the limits that chat mentions, I have no inside information, so I want to say that first. But my hunch is this is going to be like the same way with the shared slots, where there was a hard limit of a certain number at first, and then.
Are you okay? They got to Arlie.
It's like
ArenaNet silenced her. ArenaNet, didn't you hear her? She said she didn't have any insider information. But honestly, I was gonna have the same opinion. At least I think, from where hopefully she'll come back here. But yeah, I mean, she was saying with the shared inventory slots, but we've seen it with bank tabs, with everything. They only put out so many, and then they'll add 2 more or 3 more, or like, I guess, as storage, testing the storage and seeing if it allows it type thing.
Yeah, because
so
I think they just
while at launch it's only 6. Oh, yep, we officially lost her. So hopefully she will return to us.
But yeah, I think they're doing that because I think they're doing that just because this type of system takes up a lot of server space. I actually did maths this week, and I asked for people's opinions onto that. Like, if people were supposed to make a build template for a game and store online, how would they do it? What database would they need? What type of server would they need? How many requests at a time, any one time, would they have? It would run over, cost 24 hours, and all that kind of thing. And servers are expensive. And ideally, a company doesn't want to spend money on server space as more than they need, because then it's just they're paying for useless space. So I think it's just, they're trying to gauge how many people would use it. But then you have,
I know they said on the live stream, like, while they don't have an idea at the moment, like how much it's going to cost in the gem store, they were looking at other storage things like I think they said shared inventory slots, the bank tabs, the bag space things, which I think bags are like 400 a piece. Bank tabs are like 700. I guess my question is, where would your guys' price tag be, since
for one? Oh, okay. For what?
Well, I think they're selling them in sets of 3, which. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be like, what's your price point at 1 and multiply that by 3, or whatever the bundle price would be.
But what am I buying here? Am I buying an equipment template? Am I buying a build storage?
I guess, how much would you be willing to pay for 1 build template, first off? Which
is per character.
Yes.
Set of 3 is just for build storage. Okay. Anyway, okay. So for builds, all right. I'll do all 3. So for build templates themselves, I would make it a little cheaper than usual, just because it's storing a build. Honestly, I wouldn't want to put a price on those, to be honest. Personally, I think they should be free, just because. But if I
think they should, like, single build templates alone. I feel, since there's no storage attached to it except for like data wise, like not gear storage, I would say 100. Yeah, 100 gems, 200 starting to, because that's a price of a chapter. But
because I don't feel like. Like, if I had a pro price on it, 100, 200 max, but like, I feel like those should be just free, to be honest, just because there's different, like, there's different types of builds that people would want to run in different scenarios, where they could run different equipment slots, and I would charge for equipment slots because I feel like you could give a base amount, but not everyone's going to be running 6 different equipment slots. But that's just me, I guess. I don't know. And I feel like the account storage, if they had to charge for it, for one, I would say around the same price as build templates, and if for 3, it'd be a discounted 3. So it'd be 1 times 3, whatever they charge for the build storage times 3, and discount that. But
And see, and I guess first I'll explain my pricing, and I guess quickly talk about like my ideal system, because it keeps going back and forth with that. Is
we want to talk ideal system? Yeah, okay, go.
And then we'll get into some of the other concerns people had, which I know people are talking about them as well. But like I said, 100 or 200 for a build template, and this goes into like all my other remarks, is I know a lot of people refer to Guild Wars 1, and I know Age didn't hear, but I know that's been another excuse, is Guild Wars 1 had them for free, but that is not the state of the market at this current time. Like I asked on Twitter, on my own personal one, not on Talking Skritt, so it probably didn't get out to a lot of people, in all honesty, but I kind of asked, and maybe chat knows some more, what games that are still in the current market that are actively being supported on that don't charge extra for a build like a template slot like that at some point. Like,
yeah,
because it's a buy to play, free to play, because I know people originally thought like, wow, it's like, well, you're paying $15 a month for that. The only one I know at the time came to me that said something was Dauntless, which you do get a lot more templates in that game through just active play, and then you can buy 3 more in the store. But also they do upsell you on some of the other things. Oh, she's back.
Yay.
They do upsell you on some other things in Dauntless, like basically an armor set I've seen in there stem from anywhere between $15 to $25 for an armor set type thing. So
that's armor set as in like just
4 pieces
gear?
Yeah, individual pieces that
it's
the
not
skin.
like armor with stat, it's the skin.
Yeah.
$15 for that? Really?
20. A lot of them.
Yeah, there's like 15 to 20. Like I saw low end was like 15 and like the high end was 25.
Yeah.
So they upcharge you in other places, whereas like their loadout extra cost, I think for 3 was 300 platinum, which is equivalent to like $3. But you can't buy $3, but that's another.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez.
But
all right.
That's one of the ones someone recommended me as a game that would meet those, qualifiers.
Did you guys get what I was getting at before I
got
cut off, by the way?
Well, yeah, what I was saying, because I think I was even thinking as well, was I think you mentioned account bound slots, but I was like, we look at bank tabs. They start out with like you can only have 5 or something, and then they slowly were like, here's 2 more. And I think that's what they're going to do.
I was meaning, the shared inventory.
They're going to slowly roll it out as a.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. This was kind of getting at what did you finish your pricing?
I was saying 100, 200 for those. I'm more to agree with what Chad was saying with 400, 600 for gear templates, just because of them latching it with the extra slots.
Oh, yeah. What they should
I've seen people saying it should be like 40 gems per.
No,
that's not happening.
Like that feels.
That's a booster price. That's not happening.
At the very low end, I could see 100. Like I said, realistically, I could see like 200. And like I said, without the gear template, like I said, if I had a quick ideal system, I think the extra cost should like maybe make 100, 200 for either way for both build and gear templates, but the gear templates now take from your inventory, but then later on, hey, we have this separate storage. But granted, once again, I don't know how complicated the background code is to easily shift that, like check the inventory, then check this secondary inventory. I don't know if that what happens there, but I think that's where the convenience cost should have came in, where it's like, here's a separate thing that saves you on bag space. Now you don't have to carry 4 sets of armor or something, or
Yeah.
but anyway, but that was like my
like-
quick ideal system. But yeah, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on pricing? I know.
Yeah, I'll let Arlie go.
I was just gonna say, if it's an account, if it's a, so like if you're buying another loadout slot and it's an extra loadout slot for all of your characters, which you can add more characters, that increases the value. I would be okay with it having a higher price. But if it's only buying one for that character, then they would have to go for a lower price. I feel like that's the way that's going to have to work out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was my next question is, do you think they're gonna be a character bound or account bound? And
my gut says it's going to be account bound. Like if you buy an extra one, it'll be for every character on the account.
I would hope so, but
if they don't go that way, then that's the case where I say they have to go for a much lower price point on it.
But I mean, we do like chat saying, like they don't want bag slot 2.0. Bag slots, aren't they 400?
Yeah, they're really expensive. I don't think about it.
Yeah, they are. I think I bought one really early on. I was like, this isn't worth it.
Well, no, I mean, bag slots are weird because like it's not like you're adding individual slots like a set number. It like you can add. It depends on the bag that you put in that spot.
Yeah.
How
we didn't
much
have like
it is.
We didn't have 32 slot bags for a while, so it's
right.
Like, we had
but
20
you could
slot bags.
You could kind of get an 18 slot bag fairly easy, which 18
which
slot kind of covers what, which basically what covers a gear thing now. So
yeah, so like what chat's going through is basically what my problem is with monetization with this. It's like you have to decide between his character account bound, what you get for free, what we give for free is account bound, character bound. It gets really confusing. That's why I just wanted, like, if you're going to monetize it, just do builds, just do it account wide, give 60 slots for builds, and then if you legit want to buy more, just like sell them 100 a pop for one, and then make that account wide, and then if you use more,
you're saying like the whole account has 60 builds, and then you can put them on the characters.
You can put whatever you want. You put whatever you want.
Would still only be like 60.
Yeah, you could put like 30 Ranger builds, 10 Revenant builds, blah blah blah, whatever you want. And then the equipment slots, you could. I feel like that's a trickier one. I don't know if it should be account bound or character bound.
Yeah.
I'm sadly kind of leaning more character bound because you would not necessarily need more than a set amount per character. So stick with the 2 per character, and if people want extra, you can monetize that one up to 6. I guess they can keep that. But it's like I don't want, like, it's a good system that they have separating it and everything, but like it's confusing when you get to like separating it into this type of state, into character bound and account bound,
and like in like chat saying, it is strange that you would need to buy 3 different things, builds, theoretically built storage builds and gear templates. And that's why I think ideally you would sell them separately, but maybe make a, you know how they're saying they're selling them in sets of 3. Just make one that's like that, and like all 3 at a higher price.
Right.
That way it gives people the option, because people like the a la carte thing. And then if you want it all in one go, and that's one thing I hate about how we're having a 3-2 thing. I told Age, I think it was on Tuesday, was like basically they hot dog bunned us. Like you never get the same amount of hot dog, the hot dog and the bun. Like you always have to go back to the store and get the other. Like
Yeah.
Never gonna break even. That's what it kind of feels like here, where it's when you think of a build, you're also thinking your gear at the same time. It's like, why couldn't we have had 3 at the same time? Or
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's another awkward feeling of it,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Here's another question. If I just want to experiment with different builds, but I have one thing in one build and I have another build that has another thing, can I just like grab it from like the armory, as it were?
What? I don't understand what you mean.
So let's say I have a sword dagger build and I have a double dagger build, but I want the sword from I want the dagger from my dagger build, my sword dagger build to be on my dagger build. Can I just like grab it, or do I literally have to load that sword dagger build, unequip it, and then swap? I'm getting back to all the issues
Yeah.
again, but like I'm just curious.
I mean, for it to be useful, you should be able to just equip stuff directly from the armor storage without like having to make a build for that, you know? Like
Yeah.
otherwise that makes you lose functionality by using something they've added, which is
Which was
weird.
kind of one of their concerns with legendary gear, and like we were kind of talking about earlier, of like kind of
Yeah.
confusion with that. It's like,
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of intricacies with it. I'm not. It's like I like it, but I'm not 100% sold on it, type of deal. You know, it's like there's like a lot of questions that I have, especially with the gear. I'm pretty okay with the templates. I just kind of wish. I kind of wish that the account storage ones, there are just a bunch of them. We have 1 or 2 loadouts. Like if we want to transfer one, do we want on the fly? Like I think the current system works really well.
you think?
I think I'm very confused, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. It's hard. There's so many that we just don't actually know, and it's hard to see it until we see it, basically, and see how it works and mess around with it ourselves.
And yeah, I did, but I we were going back to the question of, like we said before, legendary gear. We're theorizing, like, is that worth it at this point? But that's why we're saying we're talking about an armory that should be theoretically account bound, because at this point, if I have to take the gear out, and because there's supposedly we can have a universal template, I have to take the gear out, put it in a bank, then switch the character, take it out of the bank, put it in my inventory, and then it magically gets put back into this weird inventory.
yeah,
that doesn't make that as useful.
Because like I have an idea of how it works based on what I read. I didn't get to watch the stream yet, but these questions are kind of important just because it's my idea how it works given what I read, but it may not necessarily be the case. That's the thing. But I feel like it'll work. The way I understand it, the way it works, because like if you want something that you already stored in your inventory, you just have to load that build, take it out, and put it in your actual inventory, and then swap back to an equivalent template that you want.
The theoretical armory you're talking about is not how the game is coded, so we don't have an account bound inventory.
No, we don't have. We don't have account bound armory. It's not Diablo 3.
Well, no, but we have a bank that's account bound. What if we had a separate bank system, like that's where the armor would go, and that's where it calls upon.
You're talking about
that
a new system.
We have an account bound system. It's not like it's not there.
So you want an account bound armory?
Well, for that sheer fact of making these account bound gear templates useful, because theoretically, if you and that's what I'm saying. I don't want to duplicate legendaries. That's not a good idea. It would be, okay, like you said, I'm on my thief. They want me to play my ranger. So So I
What?
switched to a build that would unequip my legendary armor, so it's now in that storage. Then I could just hop on my ranger and equip the the
So we
legendary
would
armor
just
onto there.
so we would have account bound equipment templates, right? Is that how I'm imagining it?
Yeah, it's okay. I apparently missed that portion. I am so sorry, chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Yeah, because the equipment templates are character bound. That I get.
Mm-hmm.
But are you asking for an account? You're asking for an account bound armory,
Yeah, so it
essentially.
can call on those things, especially legendary gear, because some of the other stuff is account bound or character bound, and I understand that. But
So yeah,
legendary gear is supposed to be this nice, basically feature.
so basically, what do you want? Oh, I see. Yeah,
No, that's
Tiga's
not
kind
what
of.
I'm saying, chat. You
So
would theoretically unequip it, and it would be in this reservoir of gear that they say
No,
exists that we're paying a premium for.
no. What he's saying is that if someone's wearing the gear that you want to equip on a different character, you wouldn't get those items because they're already on a different character. That's why they made it character bound, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that kind of renders the templates
Yeah.
for people that have legendary gear that normally do swap their gear kind of useless, and for me devalues it before
they
the
would
price
have
even
to.
comes out.
Well, they would just have to do it the same way they're doing it now. They would have to literally unequip their gear, put it in the bank, and then swap. That's how they would, or shared inventory slot, however you do it. But
And
I think it works. Like,
well, I hope it works. They're planning on releasing it.
I think the gear templates work. I'm just asking a lot of questions in order to understand that what I have in my head is what's happening. And according to chat, it seems like it's working as I'm thinking about it. So honestly, I think it's a really good system if that's the case. But I still would like the account wide templates to be hold a little bit more. But
well, and I think that was the other people's concerns was limitation on build slot space, which I see people talking about the Arc DPS stuff. For people who don't know, Arc DPS was one of the more popular add-ons that had a DPS meter type thing, but also had some other features that were slowly peeled back as ArenaNet developed these features. And one of them from the get-go was they added templates, and ArenaNet said at the very beginning that we're cool with this system as long as once we develop a system, if we do, you can no longer support that feature. And they understood that, and people started using it. We're happy about it because ArcDPS does allow you to have unlimited build templates, which
yeah,
I know some people are saying they have 38 for a character, like one character, which my question is, are you truly switching your build, or are you just moving one of the trait line, bubbles of the trait line up one? Or
well, in the case of Arc DPS templates, I think it kind of works like how Guild Wars 1 works. So it's gonna save all the items that you have. What I imagine is that it saves the names or something, or the code of the item inside of a structure, and that it encodes it, and then that's your string, and then when you want to actually use it, decodes it and looks for those items in your inventory and slots it and realigns all your traits and stuff like that. All right.
well, my question would be, do you know how many characters Doror has? Because I mean, is that just a standard one of each class? I mean, but yeah, I know a lot of people were coming out saying they have 30, they have this many, which like I said, I think that's crazy. But
you would think it's excessive, but if you think about it,
my question is, how much are you changing in your build?
Right. And how
How
much are you really changing between all of those builds? Like, that's my other question.
For me, the most I change my builds in World versus World, and it's dependent on traits and gear and rune sigils, because all those are very important in determining different build setups in order to get the right balance of damage, health, and what rune stat you want the
Right.
bonuses for,
Which
things
makes
like that.
sense. But like I'm saying, if you have 100 different builds across all your characters, I'm wondering how many of those builds, like how much are you using all of those builds? Like I
And that's
have
why
to
my first question
imagine
was,
there's
how many
some
are
of those
per
builds
character?
that are used a lot more than others. And you know,
Well, for me, it depends on the day. So for staff alone, I would use it either for roaming, and I have two different builds for that. I have one for actual zerging, so that's three different builds in of itself that uses different types of armor stat combinations with armor, weapons, and trinkets. Sometimes the rune changes, sometimes it may not. The sigils definitely change. And obviously the traits change depending on what I want to do. And that's just for staff. And then I have different setups for dagger pistols. So I have power builds and I have condi builds. I have double dagger. There's one power, one condi. There's sword dagger. There's at least two builds for that. But like it depends how much you pigeonhole into it. Like for me, thief, I have a lot of builds, and I can uh, understand Deror in that respect, and that was just for World versus World. But Deror, he does like raids, he does fractals. I don't know if he does World versus World. I don't know if he does PvP. But then there's like, if he pigeonholes into a bunch of different professions, then he has a ton of different builds that require not maybe a lot of changes, but there are definitely significant changes depending on your setup. So I definitely understand how he feels about it.
Yeah, but I would want to weigh that significant versus a lot, because yeah, if it's a significant change, but you're only flicking it from like your build from this bubble to this bubble, that's not a lot. Like
I'm assuming he does armor changes as well. But
okay.
for me, I would do trait and armor changes, because it's not necessarily, it's not just the one type. Yeah, there are some builds that probably just change traits, but for me anyway, there's definitely trait.
3 builds for each fractal. At some point, isn't that just overkill? I'm just curious. Like,
Well, it depends how you play too, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a build that's really good in one fractal, and you have another build that's really good at another fractal, and then you have one for just like general running.
yeah,
It really depends how people play and
Yeah,
how immersed they are in optimizing.
I think like along my lines of like me guessing that the hard limits are temporary, is that I think similar to the shared inventory slots, that they need to get a baseline of how many people are going to actually make use above the threshold.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how many people are actually going to hit the threshold, and then they know how much system resources they need to have available from that, and then they can slowly increase it from there in a expected way, instead of just saying, oh, you can have unlimited builds and not having any idea how many people would actually do that, you know?
Yeah, I think Arlie's right in that respect. I think they're going to increase it over time, because with shared inventory, they upgraded it like twice, I think.
I think 3 times, honestly.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
they have definitely increased over time. So yeah, I do agree that there's going to be an increase over time. I think honestly they'll go up to probably 60 over time. But I mean, they might read everyone's feedback about it and increase it at the get-go.
Yeah, because I mean, throughout the stream and stuff, they did have a little thing at the bottom saying, this is all subject to change. But
yeah,
But overall, like after all the reading chat and discussing with you guys, I think it's actually a good system. Maybe the account bounds on the lower end, but um, it's
I
pretty
just wasn't a fan
decent.
of everybody comparing it to Guild Wars 1. It's like Guild Wars 1 had it. It's like I was telling you, I think I even said it before we brought up the stream, was by that logic, I mean, World of Warcraft's a failure because it's a horrible RTS. Like, are we based off of like the predecessors of an IP? I mean, and also like, I don't know. For me, like I said, monetization. Yeah, while Guild Wars 1, everything was free, unlimited.
Not everything.
We're in a different market. Like, I think I was telling Age on Tuesday to put into perspective because Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars 1 came out in 2005. A lot of stuff's different from 2005. I mean, you guys are talking to us on Twitch. Twitch happened in 2011. Justin TV 2007. So we're not even there yet. 2005, we were halfway through George W. Bush's 8-year presidency. So before Obama, before all that stuff, but not to get political. 2005, if you're watching this on YouTube, if it was 2005, you couldn't. It just came out. It came out, I think, February 2005. Guild Wars 1 launched April, I think, 2005. So
wow, that's true.
YouTube was a fresh lamb. Like, that's how long.
We're getting copy straighted left and right.
Yeah. So that's how long, like, the difference between the games are. It's like the market has totally shifted in so many things. So that's why I'm like, I think it's interesting that people say because Guild Wars 1's a game that was made at the very early stages of when YouTube launched, before Let's Plays. I mean, before people played these games to show off to other people. Yeah. It's like, you know.
Thanks for reminding us how old we are, Dale. I appreciate it.
Well, internet time's funny like that. It sometimes wants it to happen too fast, and sometimes forgets how long it's been.
Man, I was watching Equals 3 at that time.
So what you're saying is that in 14 years we will be complaining about Guild Wars 3. Oh, I've seen some of the articles, but does not have the good template. Oh God.
That's entirely possible.
God, you think Talking Skritt will be here in 14 years? If we're still doing Talking Skritt in 14 years when there's supposedly Guild Wars 3, ArenaNet, can we have just one shout out?
Yeah.
Just say.
That's dedication, honestly, at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're I think we addressed some of the concerns like a lot of people cropped up with, but yeah, Guild Wars 1 had capes. Maybe it'll be I'm not even gonna say it. Nope.
I'm firmly in the camp all by myself, but I still love that we don't have capes in Guild Wars 2. I love the change. Like, everybody has capes. I like that it's different.
Guild Wars 3 will forfeit pants. I love it. No capes and pants. Or no, yeah. So. Don't give them ideas, but. Oh, VR experience. Oh, that would be lovely. Anyway, boy, we are going off the rails
Drifting
here. But,
off set.
Yeah. I'm just loving chat with their Guild Wars 3 stuff, but it kind of leads into some of the stuff we're talking about, because I've started to see some articles stating that people were working on a Guild Wars 3, which then we'll talk about it when you start reading the articles, that they're taking a little bit of liberties there. But some things have happened at ArenaNet. Some good news first. I think it was earlier in this week. It might have been, I want to say it was Monday, that Ruby, I think she's her official title is content marketing manager or something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Oh, if that was exactly right, I'm proud of myself. But yeah, she actually posted on her Twitter that, you know, she was celebrating her 10-year mark at ArenaNet, which
by the way blows my mind, because one, that's great for her, but like I started writing with Game Breaker shortly, like no, it was shortly after Elizabeth went over there. So, but it's still like, wow, how has that much time gone by, you know?
I was to say, it's kind of that weird thing of when I was saying what happened in 2005. It's like with this thing, it's like, because yeah, I started watching Game Breaker with, I think, Ruby's, like when she helped transition you know,
Elizabeth in.
Yeah. And like when it went to Game Breaker and stuff. So I started watching then, and how then she went away to ArenaNet. So yeah, it's like weirdly here in the 10 years, it's like, man,
has it really been that long? Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, awesome camp, you know, 10 more years unless she's like, oh, really? Like, hopefully she's, you know, gets to do everything she loves to do at ArenaNet, or, you know, wherever the roads may take her in the next 10 years. So, another promotion for Hugh Norfolk. He is now a lead system designer. I know he said that. Yay. I want to say Wednesday or Thursday. He might have tweeted it out, but you know, I'm super excited because I know I still remember a lot of his was it points of interest at the time or something, or where they're like, you know, their stream where, you know, he was talking, he was our big World v World PvP guy, you know, loved the competition stuff, and hearing his passion behind that, I can't wait to see some of the stuff that he brings, you know, to the lead system designer position. Any other thoughts for Hugh or
I'm excited
Ruby?
for him. That's awesome for both of them, really. Yeah, it's amazing.
But yeah, funny you mentioned Elizabeth, you know, transitioning. Well, it seemed like on Thursday she posted that it was going to be
Thursday?
her.
I thought it was Friday that she posted that.
I thought it was Thursday. I don't remember.
It
was sometime this week. It was near the end. If this week felt a lot longer than with all the news, which we'll definitely get to some of the bigger. I know everybody's waiting on the one that we're going to talk about. Everybody knows the elephant in the room, but Elizabeth Clare is left ArenaNet. Like, you know, I think we've talked about in the past. I still remember. I think she was actually in a team with actually Hugh. Weird enough, was it Hugh? Where they were talking about the Aether Blade update, and she was standing in the back, I think, talking about the lore.
I don't remember.
But as as someone that watched Game Breaker, and like I had that like proud parent, I was like, yay, like, I was like rooting for her in the back, like But you know, I can't wait to see what else she, you know, goes on and does. I don't think she elaborated any further of any plans.
No.
But you know,
it'll be exciting to see where she goes.
Yeah, we wish her well. And but also I think big one that I think struck a lot of people was that Mike O'Brien, for people that aren't aware, was the president and a co-founder of ArenaNet as a whole, did state that he was leaving ArenaNet. There was a blog post, which let me throw that in chat in case people want to read it. And if you're watching this later, link will be in the description and stuff. But you know, he talked about you know, how much he's loved his time there. You know, basically, like we said, helped found ArenaNet. You know, worked on Guild Wars 1, you know, took it to Guild Wars 2, and but yeah, definitely sad to see him go. But I think from some of the posts on Reddit and some other places, we actually found out that he is actually going to be starting a new company called ManaWorks. with a few Guild Wars 2 devs. Some of the names that I saw crop up were Brett Vickers, who was a technical director roughly over 15 years. Isaiah Cartwright was a lead designer over 15 years.
Izzy, oh my god.
Yes.
Like that. And, I mean, honestly, that hit me more. I was like, oh my god, Izzy.
Yeah, like I said, like I wasn't kidding when there was like some pretty like the bigger names that if you're familiar with the history of GW2 and GW1, I mean.
Yeah.
But Tirsa Bauer was another one of the environment artists over 13 years.
That one hit me the most, actually.
Chat saying, so do you think we will still joke that anyone that leaves ArenaNet is going to Amazon Games, or do we update to ManaWorks? I'm not sure. I mean,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I would guess it's going to be quite a while before we see anything because game development is not quick.
And I think on ManaWorks' site they said kind of along the lines of like they wanted to, and this is all subject to change, who knows, but that they were going to try to focus on smaller scale games. Yeah. So I know a lot of people I saw when the ManaWorks thing popped up were people like, are they going to make a new fantasy MMO? I'm like, yeah.
I'm guessing probably not. They've done that. Yeah.
Which I know a lot of things. Well, I was gonna say, they in that same post he kind of passed it along, like saying that, he's basically passing the titles over to Mike Z, who will now be taking over as Mike's position. Which, do you want to talk about that while I go check on that dog? So, yeah, sure. I'm sure she's annoying everybody, but hold on.
Yeah, I think it was actually Deo who was saying it in our community Discord this week, but like looking back, it feels very natural that Mike Z is taking over that role, because looking back at this point, you kind of see like how he's been taking on more of those responsibilities for a while now, so it seems natural. I'll be really interested to see like how things change under his leadership. Like not in the next month or two, but like in the next 6 months. I think that's when we'll really start to have a feel of what that'll be. What do you think, Age?
That's gonna be very interesting. I think Mike Z's a cool dude. He's very passionate about the community as well.
He's very thoughtful, at least in my impressions of talking with him. He seems like a very thoughtful kind of person. Yeah. Like I don't think he tends towards making snap decisions about anything, which I think would be good for the long-term health of the game.
Yeah, from like what I grasp with Medium is like he seems like like you described, with a person who thinks things out, and I think he really has a passion for making like giving the community what they would like. Like I have seen him log into the game and play things alongside different players, just like silently, like watching and see what people think about different things like that. So I think I don't know how much of that he'll be able to do along his other responsibilities in the future. It's gonna be it's also gonna be interesting because I think they'll have to get a game director to take his place, so that'll be interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Who's gonna take that spot? I don't know if Mike Z is gonna actually like do game direction for a while and then he'll coach someone to take that spot. But
my guess would be he'll do both roles for a bit until they can get somebody up to speed where they've actually been doing it for a little bit, and then they'll be like, this person taking over that role or something.
Yeah, for like 6 months to a year, I think. But
What if out of nowhere Mike Z's like, well, we found someone. It's Colin Johansson.
I knew you were gonna say that. He's back. That would be crazy. That would be really crazy.
do we get Ikumi Nakamura? That'd be fun.
That would. The game would be totally different then. It would be a different game.
I don't know that game that she was on. What was it called? Tokyo. Shoot, what was it called?
Maybe that's going to be the big reveal because she just recently left too. So like,
oh, and yes, Chad, I'm aware like he's well in Amazon's game studios. I don't.
Yeah, I think it would take more than just money to pry him out because I know one of the things he mentioned he was really excited about Amazon was actually getting to do real game design again. So
and this is kind of the thing. I think for game devs, I mean, there's a comfortable if you could spend over 10 years at a game company, that's really good in and of itself.
That's amazing, really.
Yeah, especially for that industry. But I even in my field, like of web development or just software development in general, there is a comfort option that people like and enjoy, but then there's also the thing about wanting to try something new or doing something new.
And I was say, I think that's how this blog post reads, especially when you start to maybe possibly connect the dots of he wants to work on a smaller thing, like him like Mike O'Brien himself working on something, is he probably didn't get that in the role he was in. Like he was running the company. It's probably a lot of meetings and
I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is when you get in those high level things, you're telling other people, hey, this is the vision, and then the other people go make it happen. Like you're not actually doing the actual design and the development and all of that. And if you get into it and you really enjoy that aspect, being so far removed from it can be a real drain, especially if you don't really love the essentially administration side of everything where you're just overseeing everything. Some people would rather do that kind of stuff and excel at it, and that's great. But like there's a lot of the people who end up in those roles came from a design background, and that's where they really loved, and they don't enjoy the other side that much, at least from people that I've talked to.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that aspect. I would much rather program than being meetings all day. It's not fun.
But like the administration and all of that and the overseeing, especially with a game of the size of an MMO, is absolutely necessary. Like you have to have that piece. Otherwise you end up with a lot of disconnected like craziness, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
And I know a lot of people are like I said, I've seen a bunch of articles saying like Mike O'Brien is leaving. He was apparently working on, and these are the titles, saying was apparently working on Guild Wars 3. And it's like, then you read in there, apparently he was working on a Guild Wars property. Like, and we know the side projects that were supposedly, which I know a lot of people jokingly said a mobile game, which remember that one piece of footage that really looked like a mobile screen, which
the mobile polymock.
Especially with NCSoft behind it, I could have definitely seen it going the mobile route.
Right.
Whether that's a new version of Guild Wars, or like we were, I think, saying one time, like what if it was putting Guild Wars 1 on mobile? Like,
right.
But I'm curious if how much of a hand he might be had in some of these newer projects, because you know we're seeing the smaller scale, he kind of has a love for that. I wonder if when that went to the wayside, maybe he was starting to think, no, there's not, potentially there's not as much here for him anymore.
Some of those projects were things that they really loved and had like a lot of interest in and wanted to develop.
Yeah.
Like clearly they can't do something that's based on Guild Wars 2. Like it's not going to be set in that world. Like there's no way they can do that. But they could take the concept of whatever game they were working on and create another world for it and set it in that.
We're based in a land of Toria.
Toria. I think they'd have to go a little bit
Instead of the
more
mist,
creative
there's
than
the
that.
fog. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like to me that he wanted to keep the new stuff under the ArenaNet umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe that wasn't just feasible. But he
Right.
really wanted to do it, so it's
Like,
like at this point, it's like I
okay.
might as well start a new company type of
Yeah.
deal. So
I
And
can't
Chad's saying
see them.
unless they are subcontracted by ArenaNet,
Right.
which
That's what I was about to say. I can't see that being the case, considering it's supposedly NCSoft is the one that acts those projects. Like,
yeah, I would be surprised. I mean, it's a perfectly possible thing.
yeah.
Like you see
I
that
just
in
don't think it's
businesses where
likely.
it's like to cheat things, and that's not what I'm suggesting that they're doing, but it's like, oh, this person left to go create another company that we then bought, and then it's basically
Yeah.
virtually the same thing.
Mhm.
I don't think that's happening, but
Yeah.
it has happened in business history before. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued to see, like we said, probably far down the road what they're going to be working on.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to I'm excited for Mike because it seems like it is a scary thing, like, but he is a person that has already created, I would say, a successful business, ArenaNet itself, like,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
he knows probably what to get, expect from
Yeah.
starting a business. I mean,
Also, the thing I was thinking about was like that we are now at a point where I think all of the original founders are gone now, right?
I think so.
yeah.
Like,
Which now everybody's saying the sky is falling and Guild Wars, or Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet are dead, which I think
mean-
is not giving credit to the talent that is there. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
So
I think they built something that is much more resilient than that. Like,
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, this has probably for ArenaNet been a pretty dark year
mhm.
with the layoffs and this happening. It does probably really suck. I mean, but I kind of want to equate it to how people refer to global warming. If you believe in that, I'm just trying to stay safe here. That, like, they say this could be the end of Earth. No,
Mhm.
it's the end of people on Earth. It's like, because I know a lot of people are leaving over the build template thing. I know we were talking, like I saw
Yeah.
people talking about that in chat earlier, and this is probably icing on the cake for them.
Yeah.
Of like jump ship. It's like, once again, it's like after a year when people left and they go, oh, is that dead game still exist? It's like, just because it's a game you don't play.
With SWOTOR,
Yeah, it's like if because it's a game you don't play doesn't mean it's dead. It's dead to you. But
like, especially like I hear from people all the time, I don't play it, nobody I know plays it, so it's dead. And it's like, no, sorry, your sphere of knowing people is not that large.
I mean, WoW's still around, and I
Yeah.
believe a lot of the people who are higher up have left recently.
Oh yeah.
So,
They've had it's even in the last year they've had a lot.
yeah.
of
Who is the Michael Morheim? Mike Morheim?
Mike Morheim just left.
Who's like a big guy.
he's gonna go work on the
Chris
thing with Mo.
Benson left before him.
Yeah. Like
If
2
anybody
years
just heard
ago,
my
3
statement
years ago.
that that's not, I have no clue if that's true or not. I doubt
I
it
have
is.
no idea what you said.
I said, you guys said Mike Morheim left. I was like, yeah, he went to go work on the Mana Works with Mo, which I don't think that's a thing.
That would be
Oh,
amazing.
Oh, it would be crazy, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah. But then like
Diablo
Yeah.
5. The MMO
Yeah.
exclusively on phones. This just encompasses it all. Anyway.
my ears, I need to disinfect them. with fresh
Fine. It'll be
ears.
Diablo 5
I mean,
on Stadia, so you can have it on phone.
Only MMOs that
Yes.
exists. It is a thing that exists.
I would love a Diablo MMO now I think about it. That'd be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's what a lot of people have been saying for years.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, chat, if you are playing at home, I did include Stadia in this thing. So, haha. Another
You
time.
in the Stadia.
I'm shooting for a sponsorship here. Come on. Yes, Diablo MMO on mobile. Let's just encompass it all.
I
But
would,
no,
I actually would love for them to announce that at BlizzCon just so I could get the mixture of, yeah, what?
Oh,
no, you see them
need to-
put up that like plexiglass to stop like the debris getting thrown at the stage, and they're like, "Well, here's our next announcement." Anyway, we are
Going
buy
far
them a
afield.
virtual ticket.
In the end, like we said, while I think it is a dark moment for ArenaNet, just because kind of along the same lines as when they had the layoffs, it is saying goodbye to friends and them, and stuff like that. It's never a fun thing, but I don't think this is, some people are feeling the final nail in the coffin. I don't think that. But I have trust in like the people that are still there, and I mean, like we're gonna talk here in a second, the people that might be coming down the pipeline, because hey, all these people that don't like the build template system or any other system in the game, apparently you guys are professional developers. Arena are looking for more people. So if you got the skills,
Go make the systems better.
Yeah. And in reality, only if you do actually have the qualifications. Don't just flood them with, "I like the game," or I think your systems are crap. I could do better." Probably not the best opener for any job application.
I have seen somebody apply to a job for a game, and in it they said that your systems are terrible and I'll fix it.
So, and now they work there, right?
No.
But no, some of the listings for ArenaNet, some open positions, and remember they are local to Bellevue, Washington. So it's character artist apprentice, which is a contract job, environment artist apprentice, which is a contract job, lead technical artist, senior creature artist, localization specialist in French, game designer, systems designer, specifically economy, senior writer/narrative designer, writer/narrative designer, producer, senior producer, gameplay programmer, and senior gameplay programmer. So
wait, was that just regular writer? Or is it writer?
Okay. They had senior writer/narrative designer and then writer/narrative designer.
Oh, wow. That's not something you see very often.
Well, there you go. Better jump in there while the chances are good. No, you, Arlie. I can't lose another person.
Come on.
If you do, we better get one shout out. I mean, come on.
Right.
Now I'm gonna feel bad if, like, because we, there are a couple ANET people that listen to this. You don't have to shout us out. I'm just poking fun.
Just joking. It's cool.
But if you do, I mean, no, I'm stopping. Anyway, but yeah, definitely apply to those if you can meet the qualifications, and if you're willing to if you are in that area or willing to go, live in that area. That's probably another important part. But yeah, any thoughts on the job listings themselves?
It's awesome.
It's a lot of things. So
yeah.
Next up we have ArenaNet is participating in Extra Life 2019. So for the past 2 years, ArenaNet has participated in Extra Life alongside the Guild Wars 2 community. In the past, they've donated over $80,000 US to benefit Children's Miracle Network. Also, when ArenaNet raises $25,000, ArenaNet will match the donation for a total of $50,000. Game day live streams will kick off with Guild Chat at noon Pacific on Friday, November 1st, and end at noon Pacific on Saturday, November 2nd. They say watch the live stream, jump into the game with them, and donate. They'll have plenty of surprises and fun to celebrate in both Tyria and the real world. And for people that aren't familiar with Extra Life, it is an event dedicated to raising funds for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. a network of 170 nonprofit children's hospitals in the United States and Canada. Basically, all proceeds help these hospitals pay for care that is not covered by insurance and Medicaid, as well as funding research and pediatric medical equipment. And in total, Extra Life itself has raised over $50 million US dollars for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals since its founding in 2008. So if you want to help out, support, we'll throw the team page in the in chat, but also you'll find all that stuff in the description.
Yep.
Okay.
I wonder who whose heads Jebra is going to shave this year. It seems like that's been the tradition. I mean,
yeah.
I assume the same people. Trying to remember who it was.
Ruby should do it.
I was just saying, Ruby, you just said you were there for 10 years. That zero looks like a bald head. Come on.
Listen, I need to catch Ruby on something.
I was gonna say,
I feel like
now that she
got away with
officially hates us, she's like, no.
Ruby, at least dye your hair color.
Why can't I get into my Guild Wars 2 account? Oh, I'm permanently banned. No.
I will gladly. I'm gonna miss these streams because I have stuff on the 1st and 2nd, which is also BlizzCon.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm doing Halloween party and after parties.
You're doing Halloween party after Halloween?
Halloween's in the middle of the week. I mean,
yeah, Halloween's on Thursday.
Yeah. So you do it the weekend before, so it's still in the right month.
Yeah, but you're closer on. Anyway, this is after show stuff. We still got.
Yeah.
So where do you guys fall?
I need Ruby to dye her hair or something. There you go.
But hey, if you're throwing money around, I'd say first throw it towards Extra Life first. I think that's a better choice. Yeah, but there is also some stuff in the gem store. First up, we have actually the only new thing: the Legionnaire chair for 600 gems. They did have a little bit of an issue. They had to update the banner due to the chair not scaling well with the char, which yeah, the char looked pretty pathetic in the chair compared to the picture. So
yeah,
understandably they made that change. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is a little bit sad because the char is like most chairs for the char, they're like not fitting it. Like there
should be like a hole in the back for the tail.
Well, and that's my point is it's the Legionnaire chair. If there's one chair that the char should look in, wow, try to say that like 3 times fast.
One chair for char.
Yeah. Like if there is one chair they should look good in, it should be the Legionnaire chair. I mean,
yeah. You would think there would be like just like half an oval at the seat part, and it could fit anyone, but like a char tail could go through there. It's like that just makes sense to me. But anyway.
Yeah, ArenaNet is always shorting the char. Hey, you guys got that unique helmet in the new story thing? Yeah, super giant chair. Yeah, it should even look. I think that's what it should be. Like you're saying, if you're on a Asura, it should be smaller than the picture you're seeing there, just to put it home that it is a char's chair.
Yeah, I feel like it should be a giant chair, and when Azuras sit on it, they just seem really small. Like that would be good for me.
Now, I'm sure the limitations are how much like the hitbox is or something, which reality always screwing things up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the only new item I believe that came in the gem store was the Legionnaire chair.
Pretty nice chair. I like it.
Yeah, it definitely looks nice. Looked nice with a sizable char in there that would actually make it look like it fit. But I mean, are you guys gonna be picking this one up or?
I probably won't, but that's only because I need to save money this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the sky scale chair thing, and I think I'm set on my character.
Sky scale, nice.
Yeah, what a novel concept going back to templates and stuff. I traded gold for gems, so it didn't actually cost me actual real life money. I almost called it real life currency.
Yeah,
That sounds like such a gaming way to say it.
I mean, it is currency.
It is, but it's just call it money. That's what we call it, money, not real life currency. Like that'd be me going to like Kmart and going, the real life gem store. But anyway,
oh my gosh.
But yeah, some returning items. The Spooky Mounts pack for 1,200 gems, which is 40% off. The Infinite Unbound Gathering Tools for 2,700 gems. I don't do that. No, I do not do that. Not yet. Good. The Spooky Mounts pack. That's the 40% off. The Black Wings Glider combo, the White Wings Glider combo, and the Golden Wings Glider combo are all 520 gems a piece, which are 25% off. The Ferocious Cat Ears for 280 gems, which is 30% off. And the Devil Horns, the Wizard Hat, and the Bunny Ears are all in there for 140 gems a piece, which is 30% off. So, are any of you going to be picking any of those up, or would you already have some of them and recommend them as something to get maybe for someone that has some gems burning?
Ears. Also, Black Wings, White Wings, those are worthwhile too. And I don't know why the cat ears are more expensive than the other ears.
Because they're cat ears.
I mean,
everyone has fulfilled the female meta with the bunny ears, so they need to sell the cat ears.
Yeah, my warrior wears the cat ears all the time, and my reaper, my reaper that I PvP on, wears the bunny ears all the time. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I would recommend like the wings. I know a lot of people are about them, and if you don't have a set of infinite gathering tools, I mean, the Unbound Gathering Tools is a nice one because you do earn some currency.
I've had the Unbound for a long time, and it adds up. Yeah.
And chat's saying they already got them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
So I was gonna say, what ones do you recommend? And they're saying the wings, so.
Yeah, I forgot I have the golden wings too.
I think I have them somewhere.
Well, I started using the hawk wings more than the golden wings or the eagle wings. I can't remember if it was hawk or eagle, but.
Yeah, I know what ones you're talking about. I forget what they're. Oh, that would be nice if they updated the bat wings to flap. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
What a good community suggestion. Which, speaking of which, we have Community Corner, which. Before we get into it, can I just say, I don't know if I told you guys this. I said it a couple of times. It was like Sunday, Monday. We were getting more and more of these like community event things, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be a nice, relaxed, no big issue. Like I was like, cool. It's gonna be a big community corner. Like push it out to the community. Cool. And then Tuesday hit. But yeah. So speaking of community corner, we've talked about them in the past. Chronicles of Tyria, their summer short stories. It is nearing the end. They're still doing every week until October 19th. A Guild Wars 2 community writer will publish a Guild Wars 2 short story on their website. And like I said, they are nearing the end here. What is it? 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks today for watching us live. So definitely check them out. And like I said, I'll keep throwing them in chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, links are in the description if you're at all following any of this stuff. Also, we've talked about them before with all their Quaggan March and stuff like that, is the Gamers Giving Back their Pink Day in LA. They do have it scheduled for Saturday, October 19th. So also in that 2 week mark, which, is usually a big party in LA. Usually have multiple streamers. I know they still use like what is it, Gwen Radio or whatever, where they kind of play music and stuff like that. So always a good time. If you're not familiar with them, definitely follow them on Twitter, Gamers Giving Back, and I think they have a Facebook and all that stuff. And also the Beetle Champions League, the Battle Efficiency is proud to announce a brand new initiative combining both custom-made Guild Hall racetracks and the in-game Beetle races you see around the world put in by ArenaNet. Well, you might miss out on the qualifying races because basically you can take place in one of 4 qualifying races. Okay, so you can still make it. October 5th so today if you're watching this live. October 6th, and then the 12th and the 13th are for the qualifying races. And the rewards, they said, you maybe are able to earn some gems, and the important thing, placement into the final race. What is the final race, you ask? It's going to be on October 19th. Everything's happening on October 19th. They have a custom racetrack that they made, and I think they might have released their map. It's in their Guild Hall, and boy howdy is it like all over the place. Like it's gonna test your racing metal. I think you might be muted. I don't
Yes, I was saying it looks crazy, and I was trying to figure out like which direction you're supposed to go, and I just couldn't tell.
And see, that is why we are not going to be qualifying, because we can't even figure out which direction to go in the race itself.
Yep. No.
But yeah, the reward for that is a legendary weapon. So, might pay to practice your drifting skills on your Beetle. Also, there's a Guild Wars 2 Rating League Season 1. Let's throw in the Reddit post in case people are at all interested. So 2 leagues, gold and silver. The registration for both leagues will be open from the moment that went up. So basically now until October 26th. And the season will begin the week after that on October 28th and finish on December 15th. Registration will be on their public Discord, which you should be able to find in the Reddit post there. But yeah, I'm glad to see like people are still trying to push, a rating tournament league type thing. I know the popular one with Teapot and stuff, how it kind of got halted, due to multiple reasons. But I'm glad that people are still trying to, pick up the torch and run with it. So I wish them all the best of luck. Also a little event, the 14th King and Queens Horrorween 2019. They're calling it Glave's Revenge. Basically it's going to start on the 26th of October at 6 p.m. CEST. I'm not sure which one that is, but
Central European Standard Time.
Okay, thank you. The game world is Tyria, Lion's Arch on the EU server, so special little event for EU players. They kind of list in there the plot for 2019. I don't know. I don't want to really spoil it. You should go check it out. It's a fan created thing, kind of along the lines of, I don't know. It's kind of like the Chronicles of Tyria thing, where it's a story, but they're making a fun festival event out of it. So definitely check it out. If you're not on the EU servers, don't fear. Or maybe that's what they want you to do. They have raffles that you can join. They do have people have suggested a workaround of creating a free account. If you win anything big at the event, they will mail it to your main account. So, I don't know. I guess I can't really get you in trouble since it is all that stuff. I'm just always fearful when I see a workaround. It's like,
right.
It's, but yeah, so that's another fun little thing. A secret toy maker for 2019. Un- Unfortunately, it looks like Chris from Snow Crows, who tends to do it, they were saying real life was taking up too much of their time. They can't fully devote time into the Secret Toy Maker anymore. But fear not, they're still trying to do it. They're just looking for 2 developers who enjoy developing front end, back end, or full stack to take on the mantle. They said the technology stack is React, Redux, React N, Express, MongoDB, Firebase, and Next.js. They said if they find someone to take the role, that they're not just going to leave you high and dry. They want to actually stay in touch and follow the process and help you along, so you're not going to be fully blind going in there. But it's always been a fun little activity that the community has always done. So if you are skilled at that and want to continue the legacy, definitely check it out. I'll say, well, I don't have the link here, but I'll make sure that we get it for the show notes, or for the link in the description on like YouTube and stuff. So apologies for that. Also, and this is such a shame, that the GW2organizer.com is closing down. Was stated by the developer, Reddit user Keorl, Keorl. Basically, due to not enough demand for the site and more people use the LFG tool nowadays. So they kind of came to the conclusion, as they said, there wasn't much point in keeping it online, and certainly no point in spending more time working on it. But they are happy that it was useful for some people, and they kind of released data of they had 103 guilds were created through their system, 667 users, 1,155 characters, 8,404 events organized. So, hey, that's a huge achievement, and I'm sorry that things kind of like they said, the LFG tool and stuff kind of pushed them out. But I can't wait to see if they do something else, or what else are they going to do with their free time. But also GW2fans.net, it's actually pretty interesting. I'll put the Reddit post, but I know in the past, and a lot of people we want to be, or the past, everyone was like, where's Dolphy, what happened, where's our guides and all this stuff. And this person, Reddit user Yara Bakzek, or aka Yara, they're actually created a website, and they wanted to try to be like Dolphy, basically provide guides. They currently do have Bound by Blood guide up on their site. They stated that how they're looking for feedback. I know a couple people have already established, why wouldn't you, I know one of the biggest things was, why wouldn't you just maybe put it on the wiki or something like that, or and they've replied and different things, but it does seem like they're open to criticism and stuff like that, and they're not just if you don't like it, don't look. It's like they're open to it. So
yeah,
I definitely want, if people are interested, definitely check it out, because hey, I know a lot of people are wondering where Dolphy is, and if they can take over that mantle, especially if they want to be more GW2 focused, because I know that was a lot for Dolphy. I know she had a kind of crew working with her, and I know that was another suggestion people gave out to the person. But Dolphy also covered Guild Wars 2, ESO, I think SWOTOR. I want to say for some time, was it Blade and Soul, right? Or was it Blade and Soul? They covered a lot of games, yeah. So, I wish them luck, and definitely check them out. Last but not least, the DirectX 9 to 12 system that we talked about in the past has seen another update. It's now at version 1.8. basically with a new .pck format to fight off some problems with data corruption and management. Configure options to disable NVIDIA GPU power throttling, fixed overlay compatibility, fixed visual corruption and GPU crash, and extra info logging. And as always, they do say to use at your own risk. But in the past, I've always heard people say they've had great success. Like it does supposedly make the game run better and stuff like that. So for people who don't know, it basically Guild Wars 2 runs on DirectX 9. This makes it so it can better utilize improvements like using DirectX 12. Any thoughts on any of the community corner stuff that we talked about?
There's a lot.
I know. I was so happy it was going to be a community focused show, and then Tuesday.
Still community focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see that there's so much going on. Like, that's awesome.
No, Arlie, you're wrong. Dead game.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Like I said, this was all before Tuesday. Clearly, they all canceled and said, well, dead game. They didn't, for people that are wondering.
Yeah. Not a thing that happened.
Yeah. But, yeah, any final thoughts on anything we talked about this week?
No.
Nope. A lot of things on October 19th, so there you go.
Yeah. I do want to say thank you for chat for being civil about some of this stuff, because I know some of the topics this past week have been heated in other places, especially with some of the side stuff that we didn't feel was even necessary to talk about. Mm-hmm. And if people know what I'm talking about, if they know, and if trust me, if you don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not worth looking up.
Yeah. But yeah, who do I normally go to? Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch or YouTube at Age Night Road. I have a lot of games to play. I still need to figure out if I can stream Destiny 2. If I can stream it, I'll probably stream it. Check out some Warframe as well. I still need to do some achievements in Guild Wars 2 for the new stuff. Got Breakpoint, but I can't stream that because it's too heavy. Yeah, just a bunch of fun stuff. I'm gonna have a good weekend, pretty much.
If it only was on Stadia and it was out, you could just play it on a, web browser and not have to worry about the throttling.
Oh my god!
I won't have to worry about that anyway, because I'm building my PC in November, finishing it finally.
Oh, you're building a Stadia machine. Nice. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Robin, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82. Also, so I've started streaming for MMORPG. So their Twitch channel is MMORPGCOM. And I stream my raid that my guild does Thursday nights from 7 Central until 10 Central. And then I'm also starting a Sunday morning stream from 10 Central until 2 p.m. Central. I'm going to call it the Sunday morning backlog. And basically, I'm going to pick something between my PC backlog of games, my PS4 backlog of games, or my Switch backlog of games, which I have a ton of games between all of those platforms.
I was going to say,
that I haven't played yet. Yeah. We'll pick one, and each week I'll work on playing through it until we finish it, and then I'll move on. I did a poll to pick the first one that I'm starting on this week, and it looks like it probably will be the Devil May Cry HD collection that I'll be starting on tomorrow. So.
Nice.
Yep.
That should be fun. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter, or pretty much mostly here at twitch.tv/MAAD 2 A's in the MAAD. Where, of course, as you see, Saturdays we have our Talking Skritt podcast that goes live at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you show up a little bit early, we try to do pre-show. If you are just popping at the very end, do stick around. We'll probably do a bit of an after show. I know this was a long one. But
geez.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to watch this in full, we do highlight it on Twitch. But if you want to watch it, if that's not your preferred platform, you can. We put it up on YouTube, our website, or our URL for that, youtube.com/MAADrealms. That goes up on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you want to just, I know that's a lot to remember. If you just go to MAADrealms.com, though, that's the only one you have to remember, because you can watch that. We have our other show there, the Warframe podcast, when past episodes of Eye the Void, and no, sorry, that is the Warframe podcast. I mean, there's the past episodes there anyway, but Vote to Kick, that's the other VV one. Let's not have two V's. I'm losing it. Oh boy. But yeah, just madrealms.com. That's where you can get the audio portion of this podcast, and I know the Warframe one, and whatever stuff going forward. You can always find it there. So yeah, we'll see everybody next time in the game. Good night, everybody.
Peace.